We're live. We're live. Oh, I did this as Esfand wasn't here. I'm so okay. Well, you know what? He's coming anyway, so he'll be here. So this is perfect because now I can explain the dumb shit that I did. Okay. Well, first of all, yeah, IRL head popped. God, I hate when. Before we get this started, I'm just gonna say I hate it when like I'll be like hanging out with someone and
you say an RP term IRL.
Yeah. Oh my dude. Okay. I called this out I think on the last podcast, but at the Streamer Awards. Janet ex Chocobars goes up and is just like, "Hey Mickey," and I'm like, "Shut the fuck up! Don't ever say that to me ever." I was so triggered. Okay, while we're waiting for Esfand to come back, I do have to address the why Rami isn't here. Okay, so Ssaab, you're not in trouble. But
is this not gonna be weird?
Well, okay. So first of all, and we'll get into this in the podcast, but actually, we have a limited number of what I think are like kind of active CRIMS, as in like, kind of more actively doing stuff, interacting with the cops, doing like kind of spice. We'll get into that later, but obviously, I think like one that people really wanted was Rami, right? Because Rami's been doing some fucking crazy shit, right? So. Getting at Rami, and I told Ssaab to hit up. I think I was like, you were messaging Rami and Moon, and your message to me was, so what you wrote Rami is good. I haven't heard back from Moon, and what you meant was like, so I now understand what you meant was like Rami is good, as in like Rami is a good choice. Let's invite him, and. But I thought that I was dumb, and I thought that you had already like I thought you meant Rami is good, like Rami's coming. So I was like, oh, okay. So then I just threw Rami on the fucking thing, and then apparently Rami like learns. He's like his chat basically is like, hey man, you're gonna be on. Sorry, you're gonna be on the podcast. He's like, what the fuck? And I get DMs from Rami. I go, what the fuck, man? I
messaged him though. I told him that the time has changed. I let him know what's going on though.
I couldn't he couldn't do it though because he was starting his stream later. But I basically jumped the gun without confirming, and so Rami learned that he was on the podcast from his own chat.
That's funny.
Yeah, and it was funny. My bad. I will. Okay, my complaint is this though. I have two complaints. Number one, it's hard to schedule these sometimes because everyone's role playing all the time. So they're like, so it's actually literally even hard to get people to like see their messages. That's number one. Number two,
good luck getting 5 streamers in one room.
Yeah. Number two, I have Silent. By the way, and we'll do intros and all that. Huge shout out, by the way, to Silent, filling in last minute. You're a legend. And Silent only agreed to come with him being allowed to run grime in the city and still earn money while doing the podcast. So thank you for that. And Ssaab, we really appreciate the admins of nopixel for letting people do civilian work and earn money while they're on the podcast. That's awesome. Also really cool that you guys are actually going to pay additional in-character money to people coming on the podcast. That's awesome, man. So today's episode is actually
a bonus, you said, I think?
Yeah,
Blau, you dropped your cap at the very end.
So I just want to say to the nopixel admin and dev team, guys, thank you so much for sponsoring the podcast. That means a lot to us. That's really cool that you guys are helping to make sure that role players can take time off of the grind to come in here. Jokes aside, today we have a juicy episode that is actually going to be part of a series. We'll probably run this series, once a month or every now and then, whenever there's a good time. But I mean, we could talk about this topic for many hours. We won't be able to cover everything today, but it is cops versus CRIMS, the age-old ancient rivalry that goes back millennia, the most deep and dankest rivalry in GTA RP history, the infamous cops versus CRIMS. Representing your cops today are... Go ahead and introduce yourselves. Starting with Ssaab.
Hello, I play as Captain Slacks. My name is Ssaab. Howdy, everybody.
Go ahead.
Oh, you can go ahead. I was going.
No, you go ahead. I said to go.
I play Clears Cornwood. My name is Esfandtv, and Hi. I don't have my sheriff's outfit. I feel bad. It's not here actually. I think they took it for something.
Yeah, Esfandtv was looking for his sheriff's outfit here at the start, so
missed the memo. Classic.
And Arckon.
Hello, long-time listener, first-time caller. I'm gonna steal Ssaab's classic one-liner of "Hey, I'm happy to be here. Hello." And, yeah, I play now or newly minted chief of police, Barrick Johnson. A lot of people are probably gonna be unfamiliar with me, but that's gonna change. It's gonna change.
There you go.
Okay, that sounds kind of like a threat, but yeah. So we have a well, so we actually have two. Well, a former chief of police, a current chief of police, and Cornwood. Love it. That's
yo.
Yo.
Senior captain, man. Senior captain.
Senior captain. True.
And representing your criminals, we can start with Silent. Silent, if you want to introduce yourself, your character, etc.
Can I just add? You see that OOC threat Arckon just did? This is why people wonder why there's OOC beef. That was OOC threatening right there. Anyways, I play Flippy. Hi. Leader of Hydra Gang.
Okay, Flippy. Oh, go ahead. Oh, sorry.
No, my bad. Hi, my name is Whippy, and I play Dundee, Irwin Dundee. How long have I been playing Dundee now? Like, what, 5 years? Since 2019? I don't know. It's been too long, but hello, hi.
Well, and to be fair, Whippy and Silent, both of you guys have played cops before. I mean, you guys have. Whippy, yours is Croc, Steven. Silent, who's the cop you've played?
Joel Garcia.
That's right, Garcia.
Joel.
Yeah.
And Ssaab a long time ago was also once a crim. And then finally you have me, where by the way, when we were organizing this and Rami couldn't come, then Whippy's like, oh, like, so I'm gonna be the only crim, and I'm just like but you know, that's true. As the YouTube
yes.
I said
as the YouTube
the only crim.
Yeah,
well, listen,
I just regarded you completely.
Well, I mean, as the YouTube comments remind me, I mean, I'm kind of like, I'm not really a crim. Let's be honest. Mickey doesn't really. Mickey.
The question is, how many butt cones you have? Okay, that's what makes you a crim.
I mean,
wait,
hey,
really?
if that's the case, I have a lot. So, yeah, someone in chat already saying 3 cops for this. Well, listen, I think I'm a crim, but I'm like, okay, let's be honest. My reputation is like I'm the biggest like cop glazer.
What am I doing?
Crim. I always just like side with the cops on OOC things. So that's just because I suck. Or as Kevin says, actually not even Kevin saying, it's actually Mr. K, the character, says, OOC, I'm a bitch. Which is fair. Which, by the way, in character, I believe means occasionally. So I just think that he's saying occasionally I'm a bitch, which is the way he explained it to me.
I was trying to turn them off.
Anyways, okay, cool. Cops versus crims. We have a lot of topics to go into on this. I think to sort of start, I think we can all agree it's one of the coolest. There's a lot of good stuff we could talk about, but we gotta get to a little bit of the tea. What do you guys think is sort of the state of cop versus crim on nopixel right now, and like what seems to be working, and then also like what seems to be like a problem with it, or like where are the biggest frustrations coming? You guys think?
Wait, with what exactly?
Cops versus crims. I mean, you can go with like whether it is like that's the thing. There's so much we can dive into. I think today it's mostly like kind of the current state of things, but like. So again, later on we could talk about investigations, could talk about chases, but like just sort of what are your general things? Any major frustrations you guys have seen?
A lot. Where do I begin?
Me too. I could yap for hours, man. I could yap.
I'm gonna let the new guest first, because I always give my opinion. So Whippy, Silent, Arckon, go ahead.
I think I'll go first. Unless you want to go first, Silent.
Oh, you're good.
Okay. I think static crims right now, well, cops versus crims, I think it's come a long way from 3.0, but of course not perfect yet. I think like Ssaab, like when I was working at Mosley's at the start of 4.0, and we had started chasing that guy who didn't pay the waxing tax. because you know we were scamming people. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna get arrested. I'm gonna get thrown in. But then like you actually talk to us and you de-escalate like no one's getting arrested. We want to find anyway. And I was like, man, this is really good because like instead of actually doing the same old loop of getting chased, run down, beat someone, go to jail, it was actually like we were talking and it was like, oh wow, this is really good. I actually like this, even though you were going to pay them for the money that they lost because you knew that I was scamming, but then you lied to me. But I still thought it was like really good RP. But as time's gone on, I feel like we're slipping slightly back into the old 3.0 habits of, everything's kind of just going on. Like, how do I word it? Like, I feel like as a criminal, there's a lot of grinding. Like you have the butt coin, you have the materials, you have to go into the sewers if you want anything to do with moonshine. There's so much that you need to do, and it's a lot of work. I'm doing 10 to 12 hours a day, and I'm used to only doing 5 to 6 hours, and I'm trying to grind my ass off just to keep up. And when I get into a police chase, I feel like I have so much to lose because like a 5K fine, a 10K fine, it's like a massive fine. Like that could set me back like a day or two if things don't go well. And so when I get chased by the cops, I feel like I have to try hard, and I feel really bad because I feel like I'm taking and not giving an RP in that aspect. And if I have to try hard to get away, well then I'm not role playing. I'm playing fucking cops versus crims. That's shitty of me.
Mechanical thing at that point, right?
Yeah, it's a mechanical thing. So, but then it's like, okay, so sometimes like if I rob G6, for example, I'll wait and see if cops naturally respond. And if I don't, and I feel like there's good RP here, I'll anonymously snitch on myself. I'll call up like, hey guys, someone's robbing this thing. And I'm sitting here going, okay, I've called the cops. I really fucking need this money. Like when I rob those G6, I'm desperate. I need the cash. I need that money. And here I am just giving myself away from the perfect lick. Let me call the cops. And I feel like because I'll try not to ramble on for too long, but I feel like one thing I've learned in the current state of 4.0 is because the criminals have so much to lose when they get caught, they're trying a bit hard to get away. Like they won't, like I was watching Cornwood last night. You pulled over a buffalo. That was 1060 stolen, and you'd walked up to it, didn't talk, and drive away, right? And like 2 bits, like from my cop experience, I'd go, well, shit, he didn't talk to anyone. But also from the criminal point of view, that guy may have who knows what on him, and it could set him back 2 days of progress. Like I wouldn't fuck around with that. I've been grinding for 9 hours. I got to get away. And so because the criminals have to try hard to get away because they feel like there's so much at stake if they get caught, then cops who are currently going easy get fed up with it because like these criminals are tryharding trying to get away. So I'm going to put turbos in my car. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start pitting early. And then criminals are going to be like, damn, these fucking cops are tryharding me. I'm going to start using rat strats. I'm going to start swapping the 7 cars to chase. And then the cops are going to go, what? Now we got to start shooting tires. Too many car swaps. And then the same loop just goes on. And that's how I feel it is at the moment. Like the same loop is going on, but one side, has so much to lose and one side's going easy. And then one side escalates and another side escalates and another side escalates. And then we just it's turned into full mechanical, like daily cop shootouts, like it was in 3.0. And it's like, do we want to go back to that? You know what I mean?
Because I feel like, and to give you perspective on things, we've talked about this when the PD was formed in 4.0. Our biggest problem was how do we avoid going down the path of sweat versus sweat? How do we avoid the path of going down of always trying to match the criminals? You just can't, and you have to live with the reality that you're not going to catch everybody, and people getting away is okay, especially with rule of 6. You just cannot have a perfect reality to where every single person is caught. You want to catch every single person as a PD. There's not going to be multiple swaps, and there's not going to be people going through strat. It's going to happen. And I think if you try to match that energy as a PD, you're going to get yourself in trouble because you're going to start promoting that kind of role play within the police department. And that's the main focus. So we need to focus on catching the criminals, knowing how to do the rat strats, knowing how to match sweat, knowing how to be mechanically gifted so we can catch them. I think that's a problem. But unfortunately, people just go down that path because it turns into PvP, not role play.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that completely. Like, that's why it's like, I always try to match the energy. Like if I'm robbing a convenience store, I'll purposely not choose like a lampadati. I might choose like two shitty Seminoles to have fun with, and I'll try and bring as many people as I can because, like, you know, not a lot of people get to experience crime IP. A lot of people actually don't know what to do, and so that's why, like, I'll self-snitch. Like, I always try and match the energy of the PD, right? So, like, I don't need to bring an AK-47 and 6 S+ cars to rob a convenience store because I know the cops are only going to bring two small cars, and so I'm always like, okay, cops are bringing this. I'll try and match it in some way to where, you know, it's a fun scenario for everyone. Maybe I have a chase. Like, if I get caught, I don't ever, like, get upset when I get caught. I only get upset if, like, I don't know, I feel like I've been try-harded, or I feel like, you know, the scenario could have gone on for longer, but instead it was limited because someone wanted to arrest me, which happens a lot more than I'd like it to, but a lot of times it doesn't. I don't know. I could just be wild, and I could be, like, the most biased crim here. Like, fuck cops, I don't know, which is why it's good to get the opinion from all the cops here.
No, I think you're definitely definitely right in that. Like, I think at least for me anyway, I try my best in most situations to look at this and say, okay, how well can we, or what decisions can we make to potentially extend this like a few more minutes, or to allow people to actually have, you know, more opportunities to do something else. And while that will play into the whole meme of like, oh my God, you gave them like 10 warnings or like 15 warnings and all that, it'll at least like extend things to the point to allow other things to happen and give other opportunities for other avenues to arise.
Yeah, you're right, and I think that's like a good way to look at it. Like, I always tell my crew, the Bondi boys, I'm like, look, I put it like in the rules channel when they join the Discord. I'm like, look, fellas, if you're here because you want to get a fucking $1 million Vinewood house, too bad. We're L criminals. We're gonna go to jail because we don't do the most perfect things. I purposely try and, you know, make any chase I get into somewhat exciting. Like, I'll nerf myself. Like, you'll notice I never try and hide my identity. I'm either always wearing my jacket or I'm. I was offline robbing the laundromat and I had to sneeze in real life, so I roleplayed walking behind the hostage, taking my actual mask off, sneezing in front of Moon, and then putting it back on and going, "You didn't see who I was. It's not me." Because I always feel like I gotta give. You know, I feel like criminals need to give in police chases. I feel like you need to allow yourself to be caught. Yeah.
It's not even that, just give and take. Like, you're gonna run to people that are gonna have a plan where they get away in 2 minutes. And then you're gonna run into people that are gonna get away in 20 minutes, right? And sometimes people are gonna just do a bike swap into tunnels and get away. It is what it is, whatever. You know, you just gotta move on and say, whatever. We can't beat that, whatever. And then sometimes people are gonna give you a classic old-fashioned chase of going through Los Santos and it being cool, and, you know, there's maybe a boat involved, maybe they're swimming, maybe it's like a foot pursuit for another 5 minutes, you know, something like that, right? Where it's just not cookie cutter, gone in 2 minutes, goodbye, we're done.
Yeah. I agree completely. I feel like the only time I do like the 2 minute thing is like if I'm down bad. Like, sometimes I feel like you have to grind to make RP, and sometimes like 1 out of the 10 times I do get chased, I do try hard to get away just because I'm like, okay, I got a lot of shit on me. I know I can do something cool with this. I just want to like secure 1 W. So the other 9 times I get chased, I can afford to lose it. So like if I go and rob something, the first time I might actually just get away for the first one, but every one I do after that, it's like, okay, I've done it, I've gotten away, I've got money to lose, let's go do something crazy. Like, I remember robbing the laundromat in the Dukes. That car is such a piece of fucking shit, man. That thing is the worst car I've driven in this server, and I'm like, let's rob the laundromat in the Dukes. I didn't last 3 fucking minutes in that damn car before I got sent through the fucking windshield. But yeah, no, it's all about giving and taking, and I agree with what you say. So, because I don't want to end up like a cookie cutter criminal, like the same. Oh yeah, let's you know, do crime 24/7, and then I'm just gonna, you know, steal Lampadati and, you know, do the same shit everyone else does so I can progress. It's like, no, you gotta give and take. You gotta allow yourself to be caught. You gotta allow the cops to have a breadcrumb to go after whatever activity you do. And you got to allow for cops to catch you, but it's also the same way for cops. Cops need to allow for a criminal to have the opportunity to get away. And the cops should, you know, I don't know. I
have a fix for this, honestly. I really do have a fix for this. And I think the fix is you allow forensic and investigation tools to exist. So if the criminal does get away, there's a chance you can investigate afterwards.
Yes.
So the roleplay doesn't end after the chase, and you can investigate and bring him down for questioning, or try to, you know, pursue him in a different kind of way. Maybe, you know, do surveillance, see what's going on. Things like that. Any crumbs, any leads after a robbery would be amazing versus all it being a chase, being, you know, end all be all, and then people get away.
Yeah, which is why I never mask up. Like, I rob something, you always know it's me. Like you always know where to look, and then I'll probably hide for a little bit, and I won't even change my clothes. It's like, I gotta, I won't even like I'll probably change the car, but not the clothes, and it's like, there's that chance to where I can be seen again. I think the biggest inspiration I got was actually from Forehead when Sangreen was on back in 3.0. I had snuck in a shotgun into the prison, and I was like, yo, just fucking run it in. I'm in. Okay, the guards are distracted, and then Forehead's like, no. He kind of explained to me we have to allow an opportunity for us to get caught. So instead of just quickly speedrunning the shotgun into the cells and stashing it before the DOC saw, he actually gave it to an inmate who was blind, and we had to walk next to him for a solid 10 minutes with the fucking giant shotgun on his back inside the prison, trying to walk his way past 20 armed guards into the cell so he can hide it.
Damn.
I was like, that's really good RP. I thought, fuck, I never thought about that. He has everything to gain here and everything to lose. And here he is giving RP to the DOC. He's allowing himself to be caught. And I actually took a lot of inspiration from that. So it's like, that's the type of stuff I want to do now. And I think that's how everyone should act.
So and I know. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, I want to hear from Esfand and Silent, because now we've sort of circled on a topic that I think everyone's kind of interested in, and the viewers probably want to get an answer to this as well, which is like, it is this problem of kind of escalation of stakes and kind of trying, where it's like, oh, if the punishments are bigger, or if the things that the crims can lose are bigger, it's like, well, then they're going to try harder, and then that results in the cops trying harder, and it's that like escalation. Esfand first and Silent, I'm curious, how do you guys think about that? Like, is there a sweet spot, or does it always end up escalating more?
From my point of view, I feel like there's a lot of times where you don't want to feel like an NPC, right? And that's how I think a lot of cops feel sometimes. Is like anytime they're not, they don't act like an NPC. It's like everybody shits on them, and it's like, bro, you'd have to be a complete moron to not know that this is happening here. You have all the information, you have all the data. Like, it's almost like insulting to not act a certain way. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, look at me, look how dumb I am, be the punching bag. But it just ends up at a certain point, it's just like not fun, because you have to, like, I get it. Like, you have to give, and you have to, there's times where it's like, okay, you just have to do the thing. But also, if you're chasing a criminal who's, for lack of a better word, like being lazy, or they're not covering their own ass, then yeah, like certain things are going to fall apart for them, right? My point that, like, I think the big thing with Cornwood is, like, especially at the beginning, everyone's like, oh, Cornwood is like max fines, give them the 9s, shoot everybody, this and that. And that's not really exactly what I want to do with Cornwood, right? But how I've been RPing it out recently is, because to be fair, OOC saw this. I've noticed that there's a lot of inconsistencies in how charges are pressed, how criminals are treated, how situations are treated, and it makes things very confusing for a lot of people. Right.
Oh yeah.
It makes things very confusing for a lot of people, because then they'll have a certain situation that happens, and then they will later on have a similar situation, or they will be with somebody else that also has that situation happen, and then the lack of consistency then makes people frustrated. And that's really where the issue is.
I mean, the gun possession thing is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, the thing last night is a good example, which is
we'll talk about. I do want to talk about that, by the way. Normally, I try not to talk about specific instances, but that was a spicy one. I'm curious.
I think it's important to talk about specific instances. I mean, obviously it's your show, but I'm totally down to.
No. We should. I actually just want to briefly, because I've heard from everyone so far except Silent. So I'm just because Silent. Let's be honest.
Silent right now.
There.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I'm just not took.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah. Well, because I know Silent also plays a crim in a very different way than Dundee. Because I mean, like as you even admitted, Whippy, right? You with the BBMC maybe don't care as much about kind of maybe the MMO style progression, right? Whereas like and that's right. Well, like you said, you guys aren't getting Vinewood houses, right? Like we're an L, like you even admitted that for the BBMC. Whereas the way like Silent, I feel like is running Hydra, maybe similar to say like the company or even like Chain Gang, where it's like, hey, we're actually trying to build, like we are trying to progress and see that. So before we get into the topic from last night, which I realized is a big thing, I am curious, Silent, like what are like your broader thoughts on like having to try hard when things are at stake for like a big operation?
See, I feel like my opinion is gonna be similar to everybody's, right? I think I'm on the more like tryhardy side on both ends, right? I feel like I definitely am on the tryhardy side on my end, but I want to see cops like so for example, I'll give like some of my favorite cops that I've dealt with around like shift 3, right? It's like someone like Snow. Like he was always like a really good example for me because he, in my opinion, like if you piss him off, then he'll go hard on you, But if he senses that you're like going like an easy chase, like recently we did like a 10 bike chase or whatever, he had a car and instead of staying in the car, he gets in his bike and he starts chasing us on the bike that he could,
I saw that, by the way. That was funny as fuck.
That's the ultimate arena room right there.
Yeah. So I like those things. And then I guess to kind of go back to one of the things we're talking about, like how I feel like one of the biggest issues when it comes to cops and crims, right, is when one side escalates and the other side keeps escalating. It goes back and forward before, like, used to have these like what were they called, you just shoot cops or whatever. What is it called again?
Ambush?
Hell Week? Yeah, Hell Week. Yeah, you said
Hell Week.
It's like Hell Weeks and stuff,
Dumb season order 666.
Yeah, exactly. And I think when it comes to those type of situations, I think the cops are the most important role on the server by far. And the reason I say that is because, for the longest time, one thing that I used to hate on the server, I think it was like, I'd hear it from streamers sometimes, but it was mostly like a viewer thing, is for some reason people used to have an issue if a cop and a crim talked out their issues, which was the most like frustrating thing to me because
that's so weird.
Yeah, it's so weird. But for the longest time, it was like a big issue. But that
was in 3.0. Yeah, that was a big issue in 3.0.
Yeah, but my favorite thing was like talking to like Snow or talking to Brian Knight and de-escalating things in character, because not everything has to lead to out of character issues. Like obviously some frustrations are like out of character, but I feel like a lot of time if I have an issue with someone, like talking to them in character ends up solving so many issues in so many ways.
So I want you guys to tee up and talk a little bit about the stuff from last night. I'd love, Esfandtv, if you want to lead that, get that. But before we do that, I actually realized something.
You have a sponsor?
No. Oh, well, we might have. We might actually, yeah. This episode's sponsored by your sponsor.
That was, hey, listen, just before
an awful sponsors. We are Roleplay Podcast on YouTube. Guys, our last episode was our most viewed episode on YouTube. We are on the up and up. I'm not even kidding. I actually I did talk to my agency yesterday. I was like, yo, do you want to get a sponsor for that Roleplay Podcast thing? I was like, oh shit. So now hold on. To do that, because here's the problem. I don't know, Doritos or some company is going to sponsor this, and then they're going to go in and they're going to see my chat like it is right now with all of you guys yelling about
DNA.
Cornwood only takes W's. Why is Mr. K not here? Blau's a OOC a bitch, which that one I'll let slide. But okay, I'm saying that for all future Roleplay Podcast episodes where we go into our special spicy topic of cops versus crims, I'm asking that everyone in all the chats, wherever's live, we all take a moment. We're gonna hold a little prayer, okay? We're gonna join me in prayer on this, okay? Mm-hmm. And okay, in this moment, okay. So, Odevs. Oh yeah, we're all holding hands. Okay. Odevs, thank you for blessing us with the content before us, and grant us our W's, and may we not maul during our L's. Let us be excited for the pog chases, and not flame the crims or the cops and realize that we're all just trying to create content together, and that at the end of the day, all of us are a bunch of fucking nerdy losers trying to role play as badass criminals and hard ass cops, when at the end of the day we're a bunch of fucking losers who stream this shit on our Starforge PCs. That's right, Esfand. I am sponsored by Starforge PC. So, and I'm sorry if any of you guys have conflicting PC sponsors, but that one I actually do have a sponsor for. So, in all honesty, I want all the chats to just kind of reset and just chill, breathe. Hey, it's cops versus crims, but we're all just trying to create content. Amen.
There we go. Amen.
Amen.
Right.
All right, so why the fuck did you guys ruin Mr. K and put him in jail for 3 days?
Dude,
Yeah, what
I'm
the
telling
fuck,
you,
guys?
Guys, I'm gonna keep it real.
Strictly
I
OCD.
actually hate Kevin IRL. And it was very personal, and I let my out of character feelings affect my character in game, and I was being very aggressive on purpose. And I wanted to speak over all the other cops, and nobody else wanted to charge him except for Cornwood, and that was very personal. Yes, 100%.
Yeah, it was
So,
strategic plan.
thanks for
Climb
coming.
4K, climb 4K.
So what you're saying is you weren't playing a character at that moment. It was just you.
No,
OC.
I was. Yes, completely.
I'm making the staff inquiry right now.
So
But even gets better 'cause of the script.
So let's because some viewers probably don't know what happened, and I think it actually is a really good. Normally I'd say we don't talk about specifics, but this is such a good specific case to talk about, because there is like a lot of I think a lot of the frictions in 4.0 cops versus crims have come up from this. So if you guys want to just give like the briefest overview for viewers who don't know, like kind of this, because it's a severe situation, right? So give them the TLDR.
Okay, so for real, basically what ended up happening was, actually this whole situation is kind of wild, because I went up to, the only reason I was even up there. Do you want to start from the beginning, or do you just want to talk about?
Yeah. Give the whole entire
beginning.
debrief.
I want the whole thing actually.
If you want
Give
the
us context,
whole
yeah.
story.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cornwood was in the PD down in MRPD, so down Los Santos area, city area, and Bayweather comes to Cornwood and is like, "Hey, do you have a scout? Like, I haven't driven a scout yet. Like, can I borrow it?" And I said, "Oh, we haven't actually ridden together. Let's go ride together, right? And I'll let you drive. But my car isn't parked up here. It's parked in my personal parking up in Sandy." So we drive up to Sandy, and we leave the CVPI that she had outside of the Sandy Shores sheriff's office. We just leave it parked out there out in the open. It didn't have a turbo or anything, and I was like, let's just leave it out there. This will maybe somebody will try and steal it at some point. Sometimes I do stuff like that, right? Where it's just like you let something potentially get stolen, and then there's like something that ensues afterwards. So I was like, let's just leave it out in the open. We get the car out, and we start driving. I'm like, do you want to drive this? Sure. I give her the car, and then she drives. By the way, the Sandy CVPI is very important, because we left that outside the sheriff's office. We end up driving, and she very quickly ends up crashing. And she gets ejected from the car. She gets downed, and something had happened a while back where Cornwood, I jumped off a cliff on accident, and I was downed. So I was like, don't snitch. Like, just cover for me. And she's like on the radio. It's like, oh, like, I don't remember what she said. She sideswiped. I got sideswiped, whatever. And then, he got knocked down. Because, like, just in character, like, is embarrassing. So she did the same thing to Cornwood. So I was like, oh man, this guy came in a Buffalo, just flying like 130 miles an hour, black Buffalo, couldn't tell who it was. He hit a local that hit our car, and then we 50'd, and then she ends up getting ejected. Like, some elaborate story as a joke. So we need EMS. So EMS are on the way, and then other cops then get on the radio, and they're like, oh shit, we gotta find this guy. So we're gonna code 6 the area. And the whole time I'm like, oh my gosh, I was just making a joke, right? So I was just making a joke. So there's other cops in the area, and I was searching for this, but we're just gonna play it out, right? Because it's whatever. During this time, while we are waiting for the EMS to get there, Kay and his crew drive up in a red pickup truck, and they're like, hey, whatever. They're talking to us for a minute, and they end up kidnapping Cornwood. So they hold a gun up to him, end up kidnapping him, throw your gun on the ground, throw your radio on the ground, and get in the car, give me the keys. I give him the keys, hands up, whatever. But while this happens, the EMS show up at that exact same time. So the EMS show up at the exact same time, but they go through with kidnapping Cornwood, and we end up driving off. We're driving off. He's like, "What kind of car is this? Oh, this is real nice. You got a turbo in here? What do you got?" And I was like, "Oh, best of the best. It's a 99 turbo," right? Like, just kind of giving the info, giving an opportunity for the turbo to get stolen, all that stuff, right? So I'm playing it out. Put your taser in the lockbox.
Cam, are you not streaming?
Now, I had a second gun on me too. If I wanted to, right? If I wanted to, I had a second gun on me and I was going to pull it out. But I was like, I continue to let it play out. And I'm like, "Do you still have your gun on me?" And he's like, "Yeah, I do." So he would put his gun on me.
There's no way.
So I wasn't going to like try hard it, right? And just let the story play out. He asks, he's like, "You got 2 sheriff's office up here, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we do. We have 2 sheriff's office." So he drives, I guess, to Sandy, but he doesn't go to the Sandy PD because there is a CVP. I didn't even know this until chat said afterwards. So because of that CVPI there, he didn't go there. So instead he drives all the way up in Polito, which gives more time for the cops to respond. So we're there at the PD for like maybe a minute or so at Polito, but apparently it gives you the option to sign up at the Polito PD, but you can't, or to sign in and sign out, like it shows the little icon, but it doesn't work in the Polito PD because it's not active yet, I guess. The Sandy PD is also not active, but it does give you the option. So we went up there, couldn't sign out, and duty off doesn't exist anymore because at that point I just would have RP'd it out as like, okay, I'm signed out, and then I duty off, right? So I'm about to go get back in the car, whatever. Like, I think we're about to leave. But by this time, it was like within a minute, the cops had already showed up. So he just gets back in the car and he drives off. I get picked up. We call him in. And then he gets caught, yada, yada, yada. He takes the gun and stuff that he took off of me that he asked me to throw on the ground and pick up. He throws it away. And we go, we recover the vehicles, recover the equipment that was stolen, all that stuff. So what ended up happening after that? This is the part that things get really confusing. How I have been playing Cornwood because of the lawyer stuff, because I got suspended and I was a lawyer for a week and I saw both sides of it and I was like, holy shit, the cops are doing so many things wrong. The cops have been doing so many things wrong, and people have these inconsistencies in procedure when they have charges pressed against them and all this stuff. This is something we need to fix. So I saw this as a perfect opportunity to show like the proper procedure of how we should handle situations like this. Because looking at forensics, we had the gun, we had everything recovered, all this stuff, and there's like a bunch of like, I'm telling you. He had a gun on him that he used to shoot Dr. Cantor, Judge Jackson. I mean, he was carrying
molten level hot. I mean, I've never seen that hot before. I think he had almost like 5 bodies on it.
Also,
go ahead.
To pause, I just want to say, because I remember there were some people confused about this. My understanding, and this is probably like a little bit of like a mix of IRL versus this, where it's like just my brief understanding. Criminal guns are untraceable, as in we don't know where they're made. Like their serial ID scratch, but it's like forensics, you could still tell. Like, I mean, I don't know if they do this IRL, but at least for the mechanics of the server, it's like doesn't matter if we can't figure out where it came from. We know what scenes it was involved in. We know what bullets were fired from it. So that's how you guys know. Is that correct?
No, you just take the bullet, you take the gun, and you run it through the ballistic analysis, and it has a match.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. It's like,
okay.
The serial is scratched, but the like Ssaab was saying, it's like you could match the bullets and stuff. Because that's what he did, right? Didn't Duncan shoot the gun?
He shot the gun, and then he matched it to the casings and a gun to multiple scenes.
Yeah. So yeah, basically using like the data that we have in the forensics, it ends up matching. Now, basically how the thing ended up playing out, and this is something that I was trying to do, is let's make sure he has all of his charges, and we say, hey, this is everything that is proposed. We're not pressing all these yet, but this is everything that's on the table. This is the whole menu, right? So possession, boom, 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 all this stuff, and then let's talk. You know, give us a guilty plea. Let's talk, and Kay was one of that. So I think this is something that happens. I'm not to like put words in your mouth or put thoughts in your head or whatever, Ssaab. I feel like when you've done this for so long, because I see this happening with like veteran cops more than new cops. When you've done it for so long, you automatically speed run through stuff and you just start dropping charges before it's even presented in the first place. And then the way that the CRIMS see it, and then the way that the lawyers on the other side see it is like, well, isn't this what's being charged? So they can argue those charges even though you have all the evidence for something else. So you're like automatically getting the guilty plea point, right? And then whenever that happens, then they feel like, well, how come I'm not being charged for this now, but I would have then? Or how come you're saying this now, but back then you said this? Am I wrong? Because I feel like I've seen that happen with like multiple other like higher ranking officers, and the people have done it for a long time because they're like, we already know how this goes. Let's like just go through it. But then they don't know everything that we're thinking about and all the information that we have. So what I was saying is if you give it to them all up front, then he said it, you know, he'll tell the story and he'll talk about all the other stuff. So we get a guilty plea on that stuff, and then we'd be willing to drop charges on certain things for that guilty plea. So that's the way I was trying to set it up for.
You're definitely not wrong. I think it just goes back to people taking that extra step to extend things and kind of have just like longer interactions after that point of people getting arrested, because it ideally, in all cases, shouldn't just end as soon as they're like put in cuffs and then, you know, taken down to the station, processed, gone. Like you should, unless somebody like really wants to just get out of there, like you should try and extend things as far as possible, and just going as far as, you know, breaking down everything and explaining it to them, or even add in like small little charges for when like lawyers come in, and then you can kind of talk things through and then take off a couple charges. That way, you know, both sides feel like something has been brought down a little bit and you can come to some kind of agreement. I think that's a good place too.
I think I'll go the whole thing how charges work, right? I thought like it's an OC thing where like a lot of the charges are a bit vague. So you're meant to
I mean, it's intentionally that way. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are like that, yeah. So it can be, you know, fought in court. When I talked to like Nathan and DOJ, they didn't want charges to be so black and white to where you have no flexibility to argue them in court. Because if they're black and white, then you're guilty. You're going to court, you're guilty. You're not going to win. There's no chance. So to go back to what Esfand said, yes, I definitely rushed the process. We should have just had all the charges on the table and then went through it one by one. That way, it didn't seem like we were adding on and then taking off, adding on and taking off, and it caused such a confusion in the whole entire process. As a result, it turned into something that was more, an issue than it should have been.
Yeah. I mean, it was basically just like I think we were all kind of misreading the room, because here's another thing that I did wrong, because that was my initial thought, but I feel like at the point in which he had already been presented with charges, and then he feels like the criminal feels like these are the charges that I'm hearing. Well, how come it's going up after I'm talking? You know what I mean? Now sometimes that does happen, right? Like Miranda rights, all that stuff. But it wasn't going up because of what he was saying. It was going up because we were just yet.
Yeah, I told them we're in the discovery phase, and as part of the investigations, right? We're still trying to investigate. We're still trying to get everything kind of sorted, right? And we're trying to figure out everything. Like I said, the biggest flaw that I saw with that, from my perspective and what I did on Slack, is I rushed the process way too much. I went in there and I said, okay, we're doing these charges, and instead of, hey, let's bring everything on the table, and then let's discuss it that way, and then start removing things that way off the table. That would have been a much better process. And like I said, I think it's something that we need to just get in a good habit of doing so by, you know, laying everything flat on the table, and then from there start removing things instead of adding and subtracting midway through.
And I want to interrupt to just, and again, this is Yeah, because I want to. We'll have the CRIMS will have their chance to rebuttal, even though Kay's not here. The CRIMS will, on his behalf, rebuttal and attack the cops here. But before we do that, I do want to say, like, to all the chats, because I see a lot of people in chat like kind of commenting this. I just want to say, like, obviously we've all been doing this for a while, but nopixel changes rules. Obviously, people are trying to do 4.0 really differently. And one thing I just ask from, like, not only the role, I think the role players have actually been pretty good about this time around, but for the chats is like, yo, like, we fuck up. Like, we don't know a lot of the shit going on, right? Like, I did a getaway recently where I stupidly put a new criminal who I know Esfandtv chased a bunch, Eli. I put him in a situation where he got fucked because he didn't know how to unlock a door. And I'm gonna be honest, guys. Like, so there are role players with, like, God, we make mistakes, guys. Like, he did not unlock the fucking door.
That's a Mickey's plan. I'm going to jail.
Hey, can I? By the way, side note on all this, Mickey plans are 4 for 5 in 4.0. I actually am batting a really good percentage. I needed one to fail. Okay, otherwise it wouldn't be a jail plan. Side note, but I just want to say my little bit of defense here from what I was reading in this, from what I've heard of the situation from last night. I don't know the whole thing, but, like, you guys are just, like, you're trying to figure shit out, right? Like, on the fly, right? Like, as cops, right? Because I feel like you guys have more potential to fuck things up, and it's like you got chat yelling at you, you got all this stuff. Like, I would imagine, like, mistakes are made, and it's like, yeah, we're all still learning the new systems in 4.0, right? So I just want to throw that in there. I'll let you guys continue before I let Silent and Whippy tell you guys.
Yeah, just before Silent, Whippy, and Arckon. Did I say it right?
Yeah,
Arckon.
People saying DNA, people saying this, people saying it's powerful, people saying jail ban. It's role play at the end of the day. I mean, just I get it. DNA cannot be fought right now, but it falls off. It's not like a permanent thing that stays on the gun for a while.
Also, it's complete RNG. It scuffs. It doesn't stick. DNA is super unreliable as far as if it's gonna work or not. This just happened to be that time that it does. But people, like, the thing that people have to realize. I didn't mean to cut you off, by the way. I just you got my brain going. Sorry. It's so hard to RP around game mechanics because people will just be like, oh, it touched the water. There's no DNA now. You know, it's like ME wipes off DNA. ME wipes off blood. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't really, like...
Yeah, there should be toolkits for criminals to buy to wipe off a GSR, wipe off blood, wipe off things like that. But at the same time, I think if you do something, that you should extend DNA and GSR in a way to where, you know, it can't be too easily exploited to where you can remove it right away. I can't just go shoot somebody, pick up the casings, go wash myself all the GSR, throw all my clothes in the bin, and then I become the perfect criminal. Zero consequences.
Hot take coming in the cops versus crims debate. Here comes the Blau's dumb hot take that's gonna get me in trouble probably. And also, we stop ocean dumping people,
please,
and we start ocean dumping hot guns. I don't know why. Like,
dumping ourselves.
No, not ourselves. No, like, I'm serious. Like, I'm surprised if you have a molten hot gun that has fucking I don't know, the Abraham Lincoln assassination on it. Why don't you just and it does get to the issue of they're expensive and
they're too valuable right now.
They're too valuable right now. But I'm like, I think that's probably the counter to that. But, like, I'd be like, fucking get rid of that shit. But it's crazy. We're more okay. Like, that is the issue. It's like we're more okay, like, ocean dumping people than we are getting rid of a molten hot gun.
I wish there's an ocean dump mechanic that washes you on shore. That way people cannot just constantly ocean dump people. I don't know.
Like there's like a mini game or something that it's like, oh, I survived or something. You know what I mean? Like, I have a chance to.
Or just if you're in there for like 30 minutes, it just washes you automatically on shore, teleports you to the beach.
So
you can get local EMS, right? Isn't that the rule? You local EMS, and then you forget whatever happened from the incident. I think it's kind of like
I've never been a fan of it. Even when I did it on Ssaab, I was like, oh, this feels weird.
I was saying I think you can, like, if you, like, hit someone over the head with a wrench or shoot them in the head, you can literally. I think a cool thing to do would literally just to, like, OOCL local, or even, like. And just be like, that was a severe hit to the head.
We got the best person who roleplayed an ocean dump by me, and that's Whippy right there on Dundee. I mean, he made an RP arc out of it.
I think I mean, yeah, I mean, it was all because you did amazing IP. Like, I had no idea it was you for like a long time. I was like, I was completely fooled. I had like usually chat spoils a lot for me, but that entire time when you were oceaned up me, I had no idea it was you. I actually thought I was getting saved, but that was years ago. But
as a cop, which is unbelievable, man. Holy shit.
Yeah, I was like, I've never seen cop corruption. That was my first time seeing cop corruption on nopixel. I was like,
yeah, Andrew said, do it for the boys, and I had to do it for the boys.
Okay,
Nice.
I have to ask. So I want to hear from Arckon and Silent here on the case situation. Silent, be the defense here for Mr. K. Like, how do you view this situation? Like, and I know Kevin's not here to discuss, but like, where do you think like frustration would come in from like the criminal side in this whole issue?
Okay, so this is a mix of my opinion, and I also I watched the situation on and off. I was like muting and doing other stuff and watching like Esfandt's POV and everything and Ssaab's and stuff. But I watched Kevin stream a little bit too, and I actually do remember him saying one thing that kind of does. I guess I don't know full context, right? So I'm asking you guys. I know one situation he mentioned at one point is I feel like sometimes we talk about give and take, right? But sometimes I feel like I'll go in the cells and maybe I'll try like be a carrier and argue charges. But the more I talk, the more I try to like give roleplay, sometimes ends up backfiring to the point where you end up getting punished even more. Which I feel like is a turnoff. It's like, okay, I could have just been, that typical crim who's, annoyed and just doesn't say anything, just send me in, right? Rather than, give that roleplay or whatever. And then I feel like you get the worst end of things. I don't remember how he worded it, but I felt like he felt that at one point. And he said that like, I was getting a certain amount of time. I sat there, we did the interrogation. And then you ended up having actually like what, triple time or something like that? I don't know exactly the context of the time he had before and after.
It doubled.
And this one's a hard one. So despite the fact that I have always, I'll talk to cops as Mickey and have in 3.0 would fuck myself over doing this. So my mom used to run a criminal defense firm, and yeah, you don't fucking talk to the cops. Like, so this is where we get into a weird thing where there's us playing characters that role play does not match up with like. So this is this is the way I see it. Like, sounds right. Like, you actually, as a criminal, by the way, great advice for everyone in chat. Do not talk to the cops. So I am serious. No, I actually am serious. Like, and again, I'm talking about like don't talk to the cops. They are not trying to help you. It depends on the situation. By me, like, I'm serious. Where I'm like, if you're detained and like, get a lawyer. Like, that's basically what you do. You use your Fifth Amendment right and you get a lawyer to talk for. You never talk to them. That is like just a straight up truth. And in reality, the cops are not they are not your friends. They are doing their own thing. So we get into this weird situation where Silent's right, where it's like, yeah, the thing that makes sense is to not talk to them. And realistically, if you're Cornwood or you're Slacks, you want the crim to talk to you and potentially to fuck them over more.
Yeah, but that's not the way that we should be playing it. Yeah.
And obviously, like,
I agree.
On Slacks, I don't share this perspective, but like Mickey tells me all these things about Mr. K. I hear about the dragon. I hear about this man who has so much influence and power and can fuck up a whole entire city if he wants to. And I'm trying to show that in character, trying to show a little bit of fear, but also being fair, right? And I'm trying to role play that part. I feel like a lot of people don't think about that. I'll be honest. I think a lot of people don't think about the ramification. What happens when you throw a criminal in jail? What happens when you go after somebody? They think that you throw them in jail, it's over. That's it. No, they come out and they're planning revenge, and they're going to take out a lot of cops. And then sometimes cops get targeted who have nothing to do with it, and then they get upset because, like, what the fuck, man? I'm trying to do quick traffic stops, and I'm getting gunned down for what?
But I think here's something else though. At the same point, people don't do anything about it to defend themselves because they're like, oh, I have to follow my procedure. So a lot of times it's like. People are like, again, it's the whole thing where you're being treated like an NPC. That's why they feel bad about that stuff. People don't like being treated like they're just like some random NPC in somebody else's bullshit. That right there, like, because you explained it to a T, but if you think about it, if the cops go who are getting like gunned down for no reason and they actually like full send defended themselves, they're armed to the teeth. They have so many tools. You see what I'm saying? There's so much they could do to defend themselves, and it just makes them feel like they have to do something a certain way because, especially, just truthfully, there's a lot of people. They're small streamers, right? Like, let's say you got like 50, 100 viewers, and then somebody with 10,000 viewers plus whatever comes in, or not even that much, but that's like a lot of viewers, right? But if even somebody with like 1,000 viewers plus has something happen to them, and then they all of a sudden have their chat get doubled. You know, people sometimes say, oh, it's only like 5 people, 10 people, 50 people in chat. But think about it. If they have 50 viewers, they don't have 50 chatters, right? And then all of a sudden it's insane, right? This is like, it is completely unacceptable behavior. It is not right. It is not okay. Like, nobody in the world should be okay with their chat going and doing that to somebody else, especially not somebody who has like 50 viewers, 100 viewers, whatever. And then they feel like shit in real life when they just kind of want to just do their thing. They're not being malicious or whatever. Like, that's so shit. That is so shit. That is not okay. Like, if anybody in my chat ever did that, I would actually just, I would ban them 100% out of my own chat.
Yeah, same. Yeah, no.
At the end of the day, everybody is like here to have fun, right? Obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
But
like,
yeah, I don't know. You're always gonna have bad apples. Same as like I always try and view it in a way is you're gonna have those like sports fans that are just like really ultimately just don't know what they're talking about at all, but they're still like really passionate about it.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, and they're gonna do more damage than they help. But
wrestling fans basically
too late for them to
And it's hard to moderate it as well. Like, we have like back in when BBMC was like popping off back in 3.0, we had a Discord with like 20 different channels in it, like streamer channels, and it was just like 100 different mods all working together to like contain chatters, because like they would go into not only Twitch chats, but my mods would go and look at meta chats and Discords as well. And in these meta chats, you know, there's people just shit talking streamers like fucking Blau's a bitch OOC, or fucking Cornwood's a shit cop, and all this stuff. I'm like, fellas, meta chat is not a place to shit. Meta chat is a place to talk. No, I don't read it. But like, you know, it's such a hard job to moderate as well. My mods are fucking goated. They crack down on it so hard. But like, I can also see where big streamers have an issue. Like, I remember when I was you know, like 10,000 viewers trying to manage a community of that size, when I had like 7 mods all trying to watch it at the same time. It was really hard, and sometimes it leaks out. But I think as long as the streamer's like doing their absolute best and their mods are doing their absolute best, you know, then I think it's fine. But like, I feel like not everyone does their absolute best to manage their chat. And I think it's like, monkey, look, chat, you're dumb, okay? You're fucking dumb, chat room, okay? You reflect off streamers' energy.
No, chill. Chat, ignore him.
Chat's dumb.
Chat. No, listen. Don't say that. Don't say that about my chat. My chat is very smart. And they, by the way, and I want to thank again my chat. Like, my chat's actually been helping me with tech support. Because my Prime button down below has been broken, and so a lot of them have been pressing it to try and check to make sure it works.
This guy.
My chat just is true.
but one, bro. But mine's like, yeah, mine got offended. Colin D and Esfandtv chat is self-aware.
Can you check it out?
Okay, but I do want to say this, like. Okay. And Silent, I kind of want to hear, I kind of want more pushback and insight, sort of more of the, like, that crim empathetic take here, because the one thing I will say, and Silent, I think the way you played Flippy in 3.0 was much spicier than, and you'd probably agree with this. You've been more chill in 4.0. And when I say spicier, I'm not saying that in a bad way. I genuinely think, though, that, like, when I say spicy, I mean like doing fucking crazy shit, like the likes of which on the server right now. I mean, and again, chat's gonna spam all the other people that they think are doing this, but I think of especially some of the bigger streamers that are doing it. It's like Rami, Kevin, and XQC on John Paul, who are pushing the limits and doing like wild fucking shit. Which, by the way, I don't mean in the name. It's content, right? It's fucking spicy. It's forcing cops.
You need craziness for sure.
Yeah, to jump off the fucking bridge. It's, you know, it's the kind of stuff that adds the fucking the spice, you know, the tea to the server, right? So Silent, I'm curious, and I do feel like you on Flippy, you've been more chill, right? You'd say in 4.0, but like, how do you view that sort of like the frustrations coming from the people, like the role players who are doing that like more intense criminal shit?
Can you ask the question again? Exactly what do you mean?
Yeah, like where do you think frustrations would come if you were like, if in this sort of version of nopixel you were doing like the more spicy criminal shit? Like where can you see those frustrations coming up with how the cops versus crims are now?
I don't honestly, I don't know how to answer this. I don't know. I guess I don't fully understand what you're saying. Because I guess how I've been playing it, the server, is I know like obviously we kind of have our group together like we had in 3.0, but I'm seeing it as like a rebuilding everything from bottom to the top again, as in like I'm trying to just worry about building connections with everybody and kind of going from there. I haven't had too many interactions with cops, to be honest. I've kind of like just had those, you know, typical pass back cop do SBS conversations, but I mean, I've probably been in like 10 chases at most since the beginning of 4.0. So it's kind of hard to, you know, I feel like when you get into like I guess you can say like drama and stuff, you get more passionate about those kind of things. But I haven't really been able to get so passionate about those kind of chases yet.
Yeah, I get that. Cause it's like if you're not there getting involved in those situations, then it's like not really a big deal.
Yeah. So like right now I'm in a position where like I'll see a lot of these situations and I try to think logically about a lot of stuff, right? So when I do see situations, I tend to try to see both sides of things. And I genuinely am in the middle on most situations right now. Like I'm like, well, I see this side, but I also see that side.
Yeah. And we also haven't reached like, or even closely like neared the peak of what 4.0 like will be. Because it's kind of how like 3.0 was when it started as well. Like there was like mechanically everything wasn't perfect in the beginning, but like, you know, months and months down the road, it kind of reached this like real height in terms of like storytelling and just interactions. And I'd like to think that we probably haven't gotten to that point yet. Haven't even scratched the surface anyway.
Right.
Yeah, there's like there's so much. Like 3.0 started like there was what you could rob a house and that was it. Like that's all you could do. Like there was no boosting, no bank busting. You know, cryptocurrency didn't come out for a while. You know, tons of other stuff. But
I miss that so much.
Wait, this is actually wait. I got to pause. I don't think that's true. I think the Fleeka banks were out way before the laundromat was out.
Yeah,
Fleeka banks were out way
weeks in, I feel.
Yeah, they were out way back. That's why like I feel like treating that's my this is a weird thought. I treat the laundromat and the cash exchange like full on heists. Because I just assumed the devs wanted the heist in the south side because it's just better RP around those areas. That's actually what I thought. I
agree.
That's what I thought it was.
It also took a lot longer to get to that point, right? Like,
yeah,
I agree. I like before like seeing like Buddha talk about how he feels like the cash exchange is like a jewelry store. I didn't even think of it like that at all. I was seeing it as like a Fleeka, even
good point.
Like something higher because
I thought it was like almost Polito level.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was like think of it as.
But I will say this, and I think chat kind of gets this, which is like they're like, I think something that I've experienced as a criminal is here's a wild take, because a lot of people are saying like, oh well, only CGs had like maybe some of these bad experiences. I think there's some truth in that actually, because I do think CG are some of the only ones pushing the boundaries and doing really risky shit. I think the nature of 4.0, we have seen some of like the biggest crims from 3.0 months into the server are way laying low and just not they're just not doing crime for better, for worse, right? Like they're just not doing risky crime or anything of that nature. And the reality is that I think in a way CG are some of the only ones doing really risky shit. And it's the risky shit that like, as soon as you raise the stakes, that's where things, can go wrong. And it's like, I guess we'll touch on something that's like I like the heavier sentences, but I guess a question then to the cops is, knowing now that there's like some pretty fucking big fines and times, like I mean, and that this is a difference, and Whippy and Silence, sure, in 3.0 the Fleeca was out earlier, and there's differences in what crime was available earlier, but now in 4.0, dude, the charges are big. Like that shit is like let's be honest, that whether it's fair or unfair, that the charges on K are just, those are big, right? So what? How do we deal with that?
Do one of you guys? I'll go if you guys don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine talking about it as well. I think. I mean, I guess the concrete example is, I mean, the one that everybody wants to like talk about, obviously, is like the charge for robbing a cop and the charge for having a cop gun on you. Each one is like a day, and then straight up just the robbery is 10,000, and then having the gun is 100,000, which you got to think about like why it was, when the change was made, like what was the reasoning behind it? Like when it was instilled, like by the DOJ and stuff like that, it was because cops were getting robbed like 3 to 4 times a day. Mm-hmm. So in order to try and combat that, and at least to me, in like a role play aspect, that was the reasoning of why it becoming that way. Now, I'm in a difficult spot because like I very much feel for the other side in this term, because like I think the fine is probably okay, but the time is like,
right,
it's a small, I feel like it's a pretty small thing. Like obviously we don't want to set the precedent of like you can just rob cops all the time, or it's okay to have cop guns on you, but at the same time, like you're essentially at this point like throwing somebody's whole day away, sometimes 2 days now. And kind of, I don't know, it's something I've always kind of teetered to both sides with.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was to, so I'll be honest, if I was to actually look at like, if I was, and again, I'm not like, and there's 2 points here. If I was to look at how the cops handled the case situation, I'm like, okay, and you want like a really severe time. This is like and maybe viewers will tell me this is fucking dumb. Maybe you guys will tell me this is dumb, but I'm like, I feel like there's this really severe level of crime where the whatever minutes, months, whatever the fuck you give them doesn't matter. Where I'm almost like, just make it kind of big enough in RP. Where like, I almost feel like for K, it should have been, yo, this happened like late last night. He's locked up. And whatever the time is, tomorrow. So today, and I know people in my chat were saying he's like doing some role play in like prison. Like today, Mr. K is in prison. And it's a whole prison arc for him today. Bam.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow, he's out. Right? And I think the only time I would say that you should probably go longer than that is straight up like you literally permitted someone, like you murdered someone, terrorism,
right?
Insane cartel drug trafficking. Other than that, I actually just kind of think like a good balance is like 1 day in prison, you do prison RP that day, and the next day you're out. Like, you get what I'm saying? Because I feel like people looked at this like, yeah, Kay's gonna be able to make like it's Kevin. He's gonna be able to make content in prison. But like we literally had this. I think Esfand on the cops podcast said it's hard to make content in prison after like 1 day.
Yeah,
it's hard.
There's nothing to do in prison.
Yeah, there's no DLC either.
So who plays Larry Knox?
Oh, Uzi.
Mm-hmm.
Uzi. So in character, he actually came up to me with a great idea, and I messaged Ssaab about it. For some of these really big cases, what if we had a mechanic that was, instead of sending somebody to jail, they're under house arrest, but they have a tracker on their leg, just like you have a PD tracker, because we actually have a tracker that we can put on people who are on a hut. So you put them under house arrest, and now this is something the devs would have to code, and I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's you could do this. But you put them under house arrest, and they just have to sit in their homes and do whatever. Like it's something we give them, not an option of, but like when we see fit.
I've actually never thought about that, but me as a crim, I'm telling you right now, the possibilities of that is insane. You can still feel like you still can do
a lot of stuff.
Your private talks with your gang if you need to, just anything. Like you could still run a gang while being in house arrest.
Yep. Like I think that's sick. You know, who knows? You might even be on radio and you drive by the house and you're like telling them stuff. Hey, I just saw 2 cops this way. You know, like you'd have like a lot of cool shit that you could do there. Like I think that would be sick. Right?
Holy shit.
Now, again, that's something that we'd have to be able to figure out, or like have some other, someone in chat said give them a curfew. I mean, just stuff like that. I think that's cool ideas that could facilitate more RP. Now, ideally, Bolingbrook would be something that was up and active, and there'd be RP there, but unfortunately, it's just kind of not like that. You know, it's
Armand and Bobby, man, they're gonna get it going.
Yeah, so I mean, to the point where literally Carmen and Bobby Charles
it'll be like the Hunger Games in there.
Yeah, it's literally gonna be Hunger Games in there it's
gonna feel like a different server when you go to jail.
Yeah, it's literally gonna be like GTA Online. It's gonna be stupid. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think having opportunities to RP is what's important. Back to the original question and to Barrick's point, like a lot of those charges and stuff were made up whenever it was a different time in the server. And I think a big thing is we just have to use like officer discretion to approach some of these things better. What ended up happening last night was these things were being approached differently by different police officers. I think there was actually 3 lines of thinking last night from the police standpoint. And then there was K's POV, which also, to be fair, wasn't great, because I do think he was being cooperative at first, but then whenever he sees like, oh, the charges are going up, well, I mean, yeah, then he got like pissed about it, and he's like, I don't want Cornwood in here. I don't like, you know, because he's talking and the charges are going up, but in reality, what I was trying to do with Cornwood was have him lay out all the charges and facilitate, to me, like, so there's like you know, some of the really big crims on the server, right? And K is one of them. So that's like a very big moment, right? Where you're sitting there and you got Captain Slacks, you got Duncan in there, you have Cornwood in there.
Duncan.
And, you know, they're interrogating him. It's a big moment, right? Where it's like, hey, we found all this shit on you. We know that you shot Dr. Cantor. We know that you shot Judge Jackson. The MO matches up. The evidence matches up. We got forensics. All this shit. Right?
No.
And let's put everything on the table. Hey, you son of a bitch, you're going to jail for life. Okay, it's over. We have all this shit on you. And then all of a sudden he's like, okay, I'll talk. And that's when you start getting the guilty plea. It's like, well, I'll admit to some of this stuff, but I'll talk.
That they've made.
So then that's when you do like the negotiation of, you know what, we'll drop the possession charge. We'll drop the, you know, and then you start dropping some stuff, and then you work something out where he admits to some of it. He has to, right? Like obviously, like you can't run around the server and you know, just shoot up everybody, whatever, for weeks and like have no consequences at all when you get caught. But there's like a midpoint. But what ended up happening was the whole thing ended up being weird, and a lot of it is due to, I think it's due to a preconceived notion of how things go with PD that is probably going to take a long time to repair. But that's the way that I was looking at it and trying to have Cornwood kind of like play that out in RP of having been a lawyer for a week, and Cornwood now sees both sides of the fence. So that's essentially what happened. And then Ssaab was basically like on Slacks, you were going through and kind of like, okay, well, let's just like already drop this, and he's going to talk. And then it turned into like a whole thing, because then he's like, well, I thought those weren't even charges in the first place. And then it snowballed. Right. And then you had some of the other cops who were like, I mean, this is dead to rights. Why are we even talking about this? Just charge him. Because we have all the evidence. Why don't we just charge? So there was actually like 3 lines of thinking.
Yeah, there were 3 schools of thoughts for sure. I just felt like, you know, like I explained the in-character reasons behind, as far as, you know, the ramifications and fear. And on top of it, I felt like what happened with the role play and how everything transpired from him robbing you, and us recovering the weapons and everything, I felt like it was inappropriate to just hit him with a robbery charge and then add the hot gun on top. And that was just all of it, right? Because I just felt like if he possessed a gun during the moment or he tried to use it, okay, hit him with criminal possession and things like that. That's what I felt like in character, because I felt like what Blau said, hit him with that, give him that 1 day. It's a good timeout. It's a good cooldown. And then from there, the roleplay can naturally go back to where it was.
Yeah.
I think one of the, and I want to hear from Whippy and Silent, get a little bit more, Crims, come on, we got to stand up and clap these guys back first of all. But I will say, and this is to kind of speak on, is that like a huge issue that I think the chat's run into, and something I've been kind of cooking up, thinking about like all the crazy shit that like especially Mr. K has been doing in nopixel. I have two thoughts. Number one is like it's literally like we're like trying to like figure out how to catch up to the craziness. In a way, which is like, so imagine like the first crews doing heists are basically like the beta testers of like the dev work in nopixel. So like whatever crew hits the first heist, and everyone always says, oh, it's the scuff is, hey, you guys signed up for it because you're the beta testers. In a way, with 4.0, when you're the one who's doing the like craziest criminal shit, which is basically I don't even think people would say it's Jean Paul at this. It's literally Mr. K. Is like almost like worlds ahead of every other criminal in terms of just the scale of shit that he's doing. It's like he's beta testing that. Like we're having, and what's funny is the person who did this in 3.0 was XQC on Jean Paul, to the point that, and I used to joke about this when I was in there. There was more legislation passed because of Jean Paul than because of Mickey, the longest standing mayor, because they had to like keep up with like the craziness that was going on, right? So I think they're, I think for the chats, like, maybe a way, like, and again, I'm thinking like, because I know Kevin's probably just making fucking content out of it and is smiling, like looking at just like the fact that he's got insane viewership and is driving this kind of content on the server. So I think for the chats, one thing is like just be like, hey, you know what? Fuck yeah, man, you got charged with fucking 3 days and that much money. Like you're the only one fucking even able to like get to that, like to get there, right? So I think there's some degree of like we almost like embrace the fact that like, yeah, shit's gonna be a little like fucked for some people. I think the second thing is what Esfandtv kind of talked about, is like it doesn't seem like people know perspectives, right? I think Ssaab got shit on a lot because you were trying to probably be a little bit more chill with K, because like you got told who the character Mr. K was. Yeah,
Mickey literally scared me to shit thinking about this guy, because I'm not playing a character from 3.0. I'm playing a character from 4.0, right? So I'm using the character's perspective and lore to give me perspective on how to deal with that person, right? Because I don't know what kind of cold clear this guy is, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Is like I think like, yeah, people don't know that. So when they see you doing this, they're like, I feel like Ssaab's getting spammed with like, oh, CG Ssaab always trying to be nice. It's like, no, dude, like there have literally been in character conversations for like months between Slacks and Mickey, where Mickey's like, do not fuck with this guy, and Slacks is like terrified of that, right? And people might not see it, and so other viewers then might not see it. But I think it does still come to the question though, from like the CRIMS side and Whippy. I mean, because I've seen you be frustrated with this, Whippy, is like, at what point does it kind of almost feel like too much? Where like, this gets into this one thing, which is it does feel like you can just get absolutely fucked over as a crim, and it does fuck with your content more than it does for cops. So like, how do you deal with that?
Oh, I try not to mold is one. I'm the guiltiest motherfucker. I will admit, I get angry sometimes, but I try not to do that these days. In terms of like dealing with it, it's like, I know I'm a stubborn motherfucker. Like I'll get fucked by cops by one day, and then the next day, 911, I'm robbing G6 like an idiot. And then I'll get angry again. I'm like a toddler. I'll do it again and again and again and expect the same result, a different result. But like, in terms of like doing like the crazy shit, like I want to do the crazy stuff, but it's hard because some days I'll log on and it's just me. Like no one else can get on. The train's a bitch, and I don't have many people to hang out with, and sometimes it's like, well, I want to do the crazy stuff, but who do I do it with? Like, I want to obviously do it with my crew, who's been working the hardest to like go get a gun and go do that stuff. But it's like we can't. Like, sometimes it's just me by myself for 6 hours. I'm like, okay, well, I've got to make some money for the group, so when the group wakes up, we can actually do some stuff. And I'm also like scared of going to prison for a long time, because like I've been like in 3.0, I've been on countless holds. I think I went on 4 or 5 holds, and sometimes the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I think one of them nearly went for a month. I remember Lycium, Benji Ramos in 2.0. Him and I permitted a cop. I served 36 days in jail. He went on for 60 real life days in prison on 2.0.
I remember that.
I still think about that. Yeah, I still think about that. It's like,
what did he do? Was he in prison all those days? Like, what did he do? Like, did he just not roleplay? Like, I didn't know
back
that.
then there was nothing. Well, DOC had started, but I don't think it was around at that time. It was wash dishes, man. It was wash dishes and get PVC pipes.
Yep.
That's all it was. And I'm like, bro, I don't want to go to prison for that long. And so it's like it does like I do want to do the crazy shit. Like I did a lot of crazy shit in 3.0, but in 4.0 there's no DOC. And I don't have a lot of people who necessarily roleplay with if I'm in prison. It's fun for one day, but as you guys said earlier, but on the second day, it's like there's no other inmates, there's no DOC. My gang's not around to help me to throw shit in. Nor do they have much to even throw in. It's like, can I afford 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days of not being able to play my own character? Like, what am I meant to do at that point? Because it's also like, you know, I depend on playing Dundee. He's also my job. And so I go, well, yeah, I want to go, you know, kidnap Cornwood. Like Cornwood, I want to, when everyone was stealing cop guns, I'm like, bro, I need a blicky. And so I thought I was going to host a hot dog eating competition, and I was going to invite you down.
Oh, no.
I was going to be like, he loves food. Let's get him to eat food, man. Eating competition. And then I was gonna rob you, but I was too scared because I'm like, holy shit, I don't want to take it too far, because I don't want to. I think of one of my gang members, Kelly, played by A Jimmy.
Fantastic roleplay, by the way.
Yeah, he's great. I fucking love him.
Yeah, I got him recommended for Wild RP.
Yeah, no, he's great. He's very new to GTA though, and he tried robbing a cop without a getaway car, and it ended so badly for him. Now he's like $75,000 in debt, and now he's like, what the fuck do I do? he's fucked. It's like, it's so hard because, like, yeah, when you get sent to jail for doing something crazy and big, the issue is like the jail time doesn't end when you're out of jail. It's like, okay, now I'm 10 grand in debt. Now I gotta go get myself out of debt. Okay, I lost my gun. Now I need to go get the materials again. Now I need to go grind. It's like it can set you back 3-4 days. I don't think jail ends. It's like, well, now I lost my radio. Now I lost my money. My car's impounded.
And so honestly, jail should, or prison should be a place where you can make money. Hot take. I'll die on that hill every single time. In Wild RP, for example, for Red Dead, when my character's going there for like 14 days, 20 days, I would come out much richer than before because you can mine coal, you can fish, you can do labor, you can get things and then take them out with you and then sell them afterwards. And that's how it should be. That way, if you're in there for a long time, you know, your time is being invested into the future. You're not sitting there just rotting in jail, right?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So something like that should happen. Maybe you can do like, I don't know, recycle shit to prison and then take the recycled materials with you outside. Right. So
that's a great idea.
I mean, it is kind of happening actually. Apparently,
right, with the lockpicks, but I'm saying like more things for civilians as well. No, sorry, for other people that want to take a different route versus only selling lockpicks, right?
Yeah,
like being able to get materials. I remember you used to be able to search for scrap. I don't know if it ever outputted anything, but like just like put a giant fucking scrap pile and just steal some mats. Like even then, like get like an extra like $500 to $1,000. It doesn't need to be like a lot, but just like an incentive to like log on and be there and know that you're not, you know, just a useless piece of meat rotting away. Because sometimes I do feel like that when I go to prison. And it's like, I love, like, you know me. I love my police chases, okay? I absolutely love my police chases. But I've been avoiding them because I just fucking hate going to jail. I got jail PTSD.
Yeah, I mean, prisons where you go and I and quit. I mean, that's what it is right now, right?
Yeah, I just go in. It's like, and sometimes I don't know if it's been fixed, but sometimes I go in there and I can't reduce my time. Like I'll log off, I'll log back on. It's just fucked. I can't clean dishes. I can't do electrical. It's like I got 100 months. And I've only been live for like 2 hours and I'm in prison. It's like, well, do I just sit here for the next hour and a half, not able to do anything? You know what I mean? It's like, how often do I want to do that? So, but I feel bad because I want to, ring 911. I'm robbing G6. Hello, I'm an idiot. But I also don't want to go into the cells and then yap for an hour just to get hit with, a 20K fine and 180 months in prison with no way to reduce it, and then spend the next 2 days recollecting what I lost.
Right, it's a vicious cycle at that point.
And
yeah,
I will jump in here and briefly say, while we have been like talking about the friction between the cops and the crims, I actually genuinely think the overall state of 4.0 and in this friction, and there's a lot of new viewers here. I think it's way better. I just want to briefly just say, I think it's infinitely better than it was in 3.0. Like the relationships between those sort of two groups, even the viewers. And one thing that I've seen, the cops are even taking some bigger punishments now. I mean, Cornwood got you were off duty for a while, right? Like you actually took punishments. Fucking Dean lost the ability. Dean So Cool was, I mean, like people were calling for that for a long time. The cops now have these major punishments. It does feel like a lot of this does come down to like almost an OOC content thing of like when cops are off duty, that content is really good. When crims go to jail, the content just isn't good. So it's almost like I genuinely agree with either one of these two takes that you guys have said from the copy. It's like either make money in prison so you can still progress, or that house or like a house arrest thing could be really cool. Because again, it's like when the cops are off duty, they get to interact with the rest of the city. The prison's just so isolated in terms of RP. So I have a question now for Arckon, who is now chief of police, and kind of now with everything we've discussed here, Arckon, as chief of police, what are you gonna do about this shit, man? The fuck you? But actually,
hey, fix it, man, fix it.
Yeah, I gotta fix all. But honestly, what do you genuinely want to see like going forward? Like what are some what things you want to keep the same? What things you want to kind of change in terms of now that you're chief of police?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is, regardless of what we change or keep, it is not probably going to be like we could make a massive change tomorrow. It will not be the same like 6 months from now or a year from now. It's going to constantly adapt as the server life does and as just the city does as a whole. But I think what's, in my strong opinion, like most important is just getting people out there that are gonna, as we've talked about here today, like extend and facilitate like situations in a way to, just allow for like more, I guess, entertaining situations for like everybody as a whole, regardless if they know them or not or anything along those lines. I guess that's what's like most important to me, and kind of pushing that idea onto everybody else as best we can,
Yeah, like it's just something that constantly has to be monitored. You're 100% right. Well, and again, perfect example. Gun possession charge. Now that there are civilian guns that are starting to be a thing, now that there are tampered guns, there's scratch serials. So there's tons of ways to get guns now. Like I think it's reasonable for those possession charges to get brought down a little bit. Maybe a little bit of fines, but especially like the amount of time, because that was done as a preventative measure to get people to stop doing a bunch of bullshit. I mean, that's just the truth, right?
Yeah, I think people are forgetting very quickly how powerful a gun was. Like the first month in the server, like you having even one gun was like no one would fuck with you by no means.
Nobody. They will bend the knee right in front of you.
Yeah.
Or get shot.
In a way, I almost feel like, and again, this is just like I do genuinely like. I think we could even look at the situation with Kay and be like, yeah, he got fucked over, and it sucks. But the reality is, it's almost like lagging laws. It's basically like, hey, these crazy times and charges were put in place to when there was like 3-4 guns and cops were getting targeted to be stolen guns. It's like those laws are put in place. Now the crim viewers are in a world where they're seeing all sorts of people have guns. He gets clapped with these charges that are It's funny because like we could say, oh, the charges are archaic, but like those charges were relevant like 2 weeks ago. Like they probably were. I think that's
honestly, those charges were relevant 4 days ago. Truthfully.
Yeah. And I mean, everything's changed.
I mean, even during the time we had these charges, with 6 cops get kidnapped, robbed, and shot, or they have to jump off a bridge. The reason why these are laws are so heavy in time and fine is because they're a deterrent. They're almost like a server policy, basically. They're almost like pushing away to say, hey, don't fuck with the cops because they have so much going on right now that if you do, you're going to pay the ultimate price. That's what it just sends across the message, right?
Yeah. No, it makes sense. The reasoning for it 100% made sense.
I think that's why a lot of people make like this whole meme of like CG are a bunch of beta testers, right? It's because they're the ones who are always first to being willing to do something so crazy that no one else wants to do.
Correct. They always take the high risk.
Yes.
Well, we have the same, we have the same thing in the PD with Denzel. we have Dean. So Dean was pushing like all the investigative stuff early on. Dean and Aziz, and he kept getting damped for pushing investigations. Now, in character, it was like that's not part of our procedure. That's not safe. You know, you can't do this. You can't do that. But again, I hope I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm assuming the OOC reasoning for this is, okay, you're getting in trouble for this because we don't want to go too hard on figuring out everything right off the bat at the beginning of the lifespan of the server, and then the crims have nothing to do before other stuff is out and developed yet, right? Ssaab?
As far as like punishments, or what are you talking about exactly?
Like whenever Dean was basically being punished for investigating, like.
Oh yeah. The reason behind it,
trying to reel him back because you're like, dude, you're gonna find everything out like week 1.
Yeah, well, it's a combination of that. Also, he was using some information from 3.0 as far as dirty money, which was, no. We talked to him about that, right?
Oh yeah, with the
yes, and right, because I think a lot of, and we said this to a lot of people at the beginning when they joined the PD. Forget everything you knew about 3.0. Go into 4.0 with a fresh mindset, and all these laws are subject to change, and they're there for us to change the role play as far as how our server will be. That's why we lost all the in-character Los Santos case laws, for example, right? It's because
I think that was a great choice.
We wanted to, DOJ wanted to start from the beginning and have 4.0 feel a bit different than 3.0 as far as what path it takes as far as, laws, right? And that was one. Another is obviously mechanics can be changed that fast. Devs spend weeks or months coding something, and if we find it, day one as PD and try to shut it down, it's not gonna work out very well.
Yep. I mean, it makes sense, right? Like you have an idea about like how you want things to go on the server. So it's like, okay, well, this, so it's like, okay, well, let's just tone it down a little bit and let's wait for it to play out more before it's reasonable, right?
It's good. It's good give and take. Like, it reminds me of the
it's part of the give and take, exactly.
Yeah, like it reminds me like when I was on Croc on Cop, when it was a new little baby cop, I found the weed dealer NPC, which I didn't even know how to character. I was like, oh my god, guys, look, I can camp this NPC and catch every weed dealer. And then I think it was either Ssaab or Hirona, I don't remember who, but they're like, no, we can't. I think it was Coil. I think Coil yelled at me like, no, don't do that. And then it's like, oh, now I see it from the other perspective. It's like, I gotta give and take and all that. And it was like, so it's like, as a cop, like, I'll ignore some things. Like, I think the big thing was when we were doing S+ boosts on 3.0. Like, when I was chasing someone, I would not, I knew on cop even, because sometimes I'd chase a criminal and they go straight to the VIN scratch spot. On cop, sometimes I'd see other cops going around like, okay, we lost the car. Let's go camp the 3 VIN scratch spots. I'm like, no, we lost them. You know what I mean? Yeah. We gotta let them get to it. We can't just sit there and camp it. And the hard bit is that there was a timer. So if the timer ran out, the job failed. And so technically the cops could just watch the spot and then you can never get it done. But it's like, you gotta give a little bit. And I like that cops do that.
Yeah, it's like that with like the wheat turfs, for example. Like I can sit on Cypress all day, every day. I can catch every single person making handoffs, right? Because I know people are selling drugs on there, right? But I only go down as a ping. I only go down if I have an in-character RP reason. I don't just start my day and say, you know what? I'm going to sit on the rooftop and just sit back and wait for people to make handoffs, right? Because we could, and we can shut it down. But I know because mechanically they have to sell on their turf. I'm not going to. I'm going to wait for an RP reason to go down there and investigate.
Well, so that what you just mentioned right there, I think leads to another really good point and something that I've brought it up. I brought it up in character actually, and a lot of the cops agree, which is very good. You should want the other cops I think you should want cops who have this mindset. At the end of the day, if you're getting like a ping for like if you're a ping chaser, right, and you get a dispatch call, drug sale, you know, this, that, whatever, and it's mechanic stuff. Yeah, that stuff matters. We have to go stop it. I get it, right? Because that's like the cat and mouse game. That's like the fun part.
Right.
The things that are actually important, the real crimes that are actually important for cops to try and stop are crimes against people. So like against other civilians. It's the key down to a T. Like it's so important that we go out there and we stop those things because that's against another player who they want to feel protected by the cops. It is not immersive if you feel like you're just getting robbed all the time and there's nobody there to help you. It feels
about it like
bad.
This,
and then
it
eventually
sucks.
it builds resentment. Yeah, it just sucks.
And then you turn to a criminal group to protect you. So they'll have your back. They'll go out there and gun down the person that robbed you, right? And you'll feel pretty good about that afterwards.
Right.
And I think that's so much like, I think that's so important from like a role play perspective as well, because like at the end of the day, each like the 911 calls, for example, these are all some kind of potentially like really big situations for someone's character, and they could be dramatically impacted by a police response or no police response. And like, you know, if that person gets like murdered or something like that, you're never getting that character back. But if we choose to respond to that over, you know, somebody fleeing from a traffic stop and it's turned into some kind of big situation of like swapped cars and stuff like that, we should definitely be prioritizing like those kind of heavy situations.
One thing I was gonna ask is like, because I know you guys almost you sort of mentioned this, and this is something that I think would also help in kind of the cop versus crim dynamic is like when it is going to be something big, like this thing with K. And again, I didn't actually get to see it, so I don't know how it went down last night. And again, I acknowledge that there's different storylines, different cops trying to like handle it, but like you almost kind of mentioned it, Esfand, where it's like I think it could have been like that big, like yo, we fucking got you. Like if you guys had almost like. I actually think you got like it's almost like one of those things where it's like you don't treat it like a normal criminal. You actually treat it like it's Mr. K. And I feel like sometimes that if like it's like a weird read the room, but it's like if you know that it's like a big bust or a big catch or like a big criminal, like how do you guys go about then like you know doing that? Oh, Whippy's this is the camera dying that you
Yes.
Battery,
yeah, but battery went back. Give me 1 sec. Hold on.
Recharge that shit.
Yeah, so like I guess that's another thing. Is like how can when is a good time for cops to move away from standard procedure and try to like push the role play and the content, you know?
I feel like if you're getting a lot of good role play out of it, and you gotta, it's hard, man, because you have to read the room and make a judgment call based on the in-character perspective you're getting, right? Because you don't know what's going on at OOC. You can't metagame, right? So it's a judgment call. And it's one of those things where you have to basically just take a look at it and, you know, realize, you know what, this is appropriate for the role play. And based on everything that happened, what transpired from the start to the end, I believe that this charge is appropriate for it, and I'm gonna go with it. And a lot of times you're gonna get blasted from left to right because people just don't see it.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, and ultimately, you know, if it's some kind of situation, like if you give a little and you like misread the situation and they get away, it's whatever. It's one situation out of maybe 100 that you'll deal with in a day as a cop. Naturally, as a cop, when it comes to, you know, the whole like wins and losses or whatever, like you're gonna be a punching bag all day, and you just gotta keep going at it. Like it doesn't matter. You gotta be goldfish and just like forget it, move on, just get to the next thing.
But I will say this in defense of the criminal side, and I think this is something that like cops have to. And I know Ssaab, you have a little bit of perspective on this from me playing cop, and I think Silent Whippy will agree. Everyone always talks about chasing the dub, chasing the L. I think the reality is that like I don't think the dub like I think cop, if this is like the range of W and L's, I think cop's range is like kind of here. like your guys is L. Like if you guys like, let's say there's like a crazy getaway, and the Crims pull it off perfectly. That's not really an L for you guys. That's like more of like a damn. It's like damn, so they pulled that AW for them, right? Like
it's like content too.
It's so
yeah, it is content for you guys.
It's so fucking cool. Like one specific example that like always sticks out in my head is like it was like a Polito bank robbery with GG and 3.0 where they drove straight down Great Ocean Highway in a box truck, and when they were crossing the bridge like next to Sankudo, there was a fucking plane that
with
came
an RPG.
and like no, not with an RPG.
Oh, sorry.
But the plane like flew right next to the box truck, and they jumped into the plane like while the box truck was moving in like 80 miles per hour or something like that. And that's the type of shit that, you know, I just love to see it, I guess. It's just my whole thing.
Yeah, but it's like I feel like I mean like Silent Whippy, you guys know this feeling. Like I do think that like when you then fuck up as a crim, or when like a cop like hits you too hard, or like there is that feeling where like something like goes wrong that fucks something up for you. I just that L just like that basically that sets up your whole day. Whereas like and you know, Esfand, you even sort of mentioned this this, by the way, this is one of my favorite things he ever brought up on the podcast. I use all the time. Esfand brought up that there's like kind of pure role play, there's action gameplay, and then there's like MMORPG gameplay.
Yeah.
When we really think about the action gameplay for Crims, which is fun and is a huge part of Crim stuff, and it's an example of something that like Whippy does a lot, or you know, Silent. I know you used to do it more in 3.0. You'll probably eventually, when Hydra, you know, comes out of the shadows, you have to do more. That action gameplay is good. When you're a crim, it's short-lived. It's like you have a little window, and then if you're caught, it's done. Whereas you know, and again, I think this is where crim viewers tend to ball bend at the cause. Like you guys always, it's like, oh, chase is done, cool. I can go on to the next chase. I can go on to the next kind of action sequence. So, and again, I know we're on a roleplay server, but a big part of the roleplay is the content, right? The action sequences. So I think that actually ends up being a big frustrating point for criminals, is that like, yeah, like our gameplay just gets fucking cut, whereas you guys can just get right back into it.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like you're setting up for like 2 hours for something so small because you want it to be, you know, happen a certain way, but then the smallest thing gets ruined and it, you know, feels a certain type of way.
Yeah, but I actually agree with that. The problem is when, from the other side of things, we have like a mountain of paperwork that we have to do now, just for everything, which makes me want to blow my brains out. There's so much paperwork, and it's not as bad as it's worse than it should be, but it's because I like so much of I know we talked about like, okay, everything from the past is the past, you set it aside, whatever. But I think that people act in a certain way, and it's normal to act this way. People act in a certain way and make the decisions they do based on their experiences in the past and things that happen within roleplay, right? You should do that because you're like, okay, well, this is what happened before and it wasn't good, so let's try something else. And a lot of it is people argue so many things that are like, oh, sorry. They're like, oh, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. I got really annoyed about a situation at the beginning of 4.0 where we ended up going to a bench trial for like a trespassing charge. It's like $190. It was like nothing, right? And I'm like, bro, we saw this person trespass. And then they're on the stand and they just say, I don't remember. Then no argument, no nothing. It said, no, I just don't remember. I wasn't there. I don't remember. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And then I got pissed, not because of that, but because it's like, oh, well, did you have a photo of them being there? Did you have this? And it felt like I have to do like a mountain of paperwork compared to somebody just saying like, wasn't me, I wasn't there. That's all they had to say. And then they were not guilty whenever I'm like, bro, so can they literally just always just say I wasn't there? And if I don't have like all this mountain of paperwork done before the bench trial, this will literally happen nonstop. Now, since then, that's been fixed, right? But my whole point there is like somebody can literally just claim they don't know anything and then just try and like, you know, W chase or whatever. But like I personally like hate that shit. Like I hate like the whole like W chasing mentality, WL whatever, because what happens is it ends up it's very reductive to what the role play is. Like there's small wins and small losses, there's big wins and big losses within role play. But whenever you
went onto the property,
boil it down to W and L, like 0 or 1, it's kind of dumb, right? Because not everything is binary, especially not in roleplay. Because you might have a situation where something bad happens to your character, but then you turn it into something good and interesting. For example, I'm trying to think of a good example. The time that Mr. K had his whole like, freak out arc in the prison, right? A month ago. Whenever Dundee had his beef with Mary Mushkin and them at Mosley's, right? And then that turned into a whole thing because you beefed with you had Dundee beefing with Vinny and them over at Popular Mechanics at the beginning of the server. But then what ended up happening was you ended up having an internal conflict, and you took that, and then the people that you were beefing with at the beginning, you ended up befriending them. Like that's cool, right?
It was good RP.
So yeah, it ends up being really good RP because it's not as simple as like I didn't get what I want, so now I lost. It's this wasn't going in this direction, but now I turned it into something else, and it ends up being interesting and fun. Cornwood getting suspended, right? Like I went and I was like, let's turn this into something good, and let's use this to change the character of what Cornwood is. Let's make him a lawyer for a week. And I understand why the Crims hate the cops. I understand why people feel this way. And it was like a big like eye-opening moment for Cornwood. Now, OOC also gave me time to study the charges and study the laws more because OOC, I'm thinking, okay, I can go back to the PD with like a lot of information and help like provide like I can add to the PD in a useful way by being able to help teach that to other cops and stuff, like especially new cops, because we have a lot of new cops, like on how to like prosecute, how to press charges, stuff like that. So that's the way that I was thinking about it. So I don't think it's as simple as like win or lose, 1 or 0. And I think that people just need to kind of delete that sort of thought process. And I don't think a lot of the players do this. I don't think a lot of the streamers do this. I think it's mostly from a viewer perspective that really think about things in 0s and 1s.
I do. Yeah, I was going to say this. I think in a lot of this situation, so if we even talk about the case situation last night or like stuff that I got through, what I've learned, and I used to not be good about this. I like just didn't understand this. Like some shit happens to you, and in the moment, you're like, the role players, the streamers are pissed. It's like, fuck, dude. Man, like it's like someone, I don't know, you fuck up in a game of Valorant, in any game, you're fucking pissed. You're like, oh, fuck. But you know what? We forget about it and like we just move on, and then we're going and making content the next day. And end of the day, I think the viewers sometimes hold on to it a little too long. I'm not trying to make this it's all the viewers' fault. Like I'm not trying to say that, but I'm like, I think we can all just like move on from some things a little bit more. Right? Like, I think people get too pressed about it. And one thing I will sort of say as a general thing for viewers and the role players, I think it just helps, whether it's in a role play podcast that will soon to be sponsored by Doritos or some other company, whether it be in a podcast like this, or even just like the streamers talking to their chats, is like, I did not ever, like, someone who's played crim and then played a cop that was illiterate, so I didn't have to do paperwork. I never realized how awful paperwork is. And like, I want to be like in all this. I'm trying to be. I think the crims kind of get fucked over a little bit more when they take these L's, right? But I will say this, and the viewers will agree with me. If I'm a role player on nopixel, I would much rather be sent to jail and watch clips on ClipQ than have to fucking type a report. That sounds awful. Wait, really?
I'm the only person who actually enjoyed doing the paperwork. I love doing the paperwork. I used to wake up, dude. I used to wake up.
Not want to type shit.
Okay, no, I kid you not. When I was maining Croc, I would wake up a whole hour before I went live. I'd wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, do all my paperwork from the day before, then start stream, and then I just not do any paperwork until the next day, and I finish it all within the 1 hour. I give myself 1 hour to do paperwork, and I loved it. I enjoyed filling out the paperwork. I don't know, I'm weird.
Man, I used to hate paperwork. I used to just use a trooper excuse. Even before I was a trooper, I'm like, What did Snow used to say? Like he just doesn't do paperwork. It's a trooper shit, I guess. I used to use that as an excuse, so I didn't have to do any paperwork.
Yeah, I think that's the downside of Cop RP. A lot of paperwork because you have to prove a lot of things, and I don't mind it. The problem is sometimes I'm getting rushed. I'm going from one scene to another scene to another scene, and I'm losing my ability to just take my time and finish a report. If we had time to finish reports, I think I wouldn't be as against it as I am. But because there's so much going on, and as GTA is so fast, they don't have time to finish up your report every single time because you have to go help somebody out.
Yeah, which is why, I agree. Like, I used to like start a report. I'd like fill out 2 sentences, S plus boost, 99, what the fuck ever, and then I'd forget what I was writing. So it's like, I'll take pictures, I'll upload 1 picture, and then the next day I give myself that 1 hour before I start, and I could just get everything done in that 1 hour. It was great. It made playing cop 10 times more fun, just dedicating that 1 off-stream hour to doing the paperwork, and I could just rack it all up. It was easy. But I could get it. Like if you're like trying to do it on stream, because one, you're a content creator. You know, you got to be entertaining. No one wants to fucking watch paperwork
This
for
guy's
7
on
hours
some
straight.
drugs.
So I get the frustration.
Yeah, it's I think there's ways to make paperwork more fun, but only so much. Because there have been times where we're doing like an investigation or something, and it's like, oh shit, and you have like a big revelation because you're like, wait, I wrote this report, half a month ago, and I'm like, oh shit, this is sick, right? Like, actually, yeah, yesterday was a good example of that because we had those reports of all that stuff happening and all that stuff that was documented, and then you had this big moment.
Yeah, I'm glad I did the paperwork, or else I would have been fucked.
Right. So, yeah, like that's the thing. Like, I've changed how I do my reports to where I do my paperwork pretty fast now, but that's because I was talking to Nathan, I was talking to Crane, in character, and I'm like, hey, Judge Crane, like, what do you see as like a problem with the PD as far as like how we do processing and reports and stuff? And he was like, well, I'll tell you, you guys do way the hell too much that is completely unnecessary, and it actually makes things harder to push. It makes prosecution more difficult because there's all this extra fluff when all you really need to know is like A plus B equals C. And
yeah,
that's pretty much it. So go through and just like boom, boom, boom. So I started doing like bullet points, and this is the charge because of this, right? This is the charge because of this. So I don't like write it out all like, well, this happened, whatever. Like some like Cornwood reports are kind of funny. Right, where I'd be like, oh, well, this sumbitch just went in there and he was going 150 miles an hour, and I used to do that.
It was a novel. It used to be a novel for sure.
Yeah, and it would make me take longer because I'd have to think about how.
But those are fun to do, though. Those are the ones that you enjoy.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
But not all of them can be that way, right? Because what ends up happening is, okay, bench trial. It's like, oh shit, so I have to go back and I have to do it the right way, and then it's a disaster. Otherwise, it's a disaster for everybody else. So.
But even then, I mean, like, if it goes to bench and stuff like that, you don't really need to put it in there, at least initially. Like, you can just stand and give your whole speech, if you will, or whatever.
Yeah, true. I do think it's funny. Here's what I noticed whenever I do type stuff in like that. It seems like the judges like it most of the time because it's just funny for them to read it out loud. But
it doesn't feel like homework.
Easier to read as well.
It just doesn't feel like homework. I remember towards end of 3.0, the few times I did do paperwork, like it's a content side of things, I guess. Like I enjoyed just being SPS or whatever with it, but still trying to get to the point.
Yeah,
and like it reminds people that like it's a character, like you're being arrested by a cop, and then you read the report. Like when I'm on Dundee, I don't do it as much as I used to. I used to misspell everything, fucking terrible speller. And it just reminds people like, hey, it's a character. And on Croc, I type in all caps all the time. I am a trooper. I did trooper this, trooper that. It just reminds people like, hey, we're characters, not, trying to. I don't know. It's hard because it's like when I did that stuff, like I would get in trouble because it was unprofessional, obviously. But like, it's hard because I want to try and mix both in, but I'm also trying not to get fired. And then I did get fired. I want to come back.
Yeah, when is Crocodile Steve coming back to PE? When are we gonna hire
I don't know if I want him to be a lawyer or a cop yet, but I want him back, man. I want him back.
Apply to the PD.
Yeah, you should apply.
I think it will. Oh no, man. What's my resume gonna be? I was the first trooper to be hired in 2 years. I was also the first trooper to ever be fired.
Yeah, but then you got hired again and fired again.
And then I got hired again and fired again. I got fired and hired 5 times in 3.0. I was
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
I was terrible. But I lost to a cat. I was SBS and I paid the price to it. But
yeah, I remember that the cat in the evidence locker room.
The cat incident, that was funny.
That and I will say this: it is. We talked about the case stuff a bunch, and I had a shoot yesterday. We usually do these on Wednesdays, so it is funny that like we did this literally after some like molten hot spice hit the server, one of the craziest times in finds. But I do kind of want to remind the viewers. I mean, and maybe I don't know, maybe you guys, I don't know, maybe there are role players who disagree, but I at least from my perspective, and I'd say the viewers, we titled this one. I titled it "Cops vs. Crims," but I actually feel like it's been a good collaboration. I actually think 4.0 has been some of the best cop and crim RP. And again, I think maybe people are like, maybe just people don't remember.
Why do you think that though, Blau? Why do you think that? Why do you have this perspective?
I have this perspective because I think a lot of the cops are role playing as. As Sven said, we don't want to be treated like NPCs and stuff like that. I actually feel like a lot more of the cops feel like not quite NPCs, but more like dungeon masters. And it feels like they're more like doing a lot of good give and take. I think that's been happening. I think the criminals in general have been having just way more RP with cops. Like I feel like, the other thing is like, this is a weird thing. Like there was this stigma and I remember joining in 3.0 where it was like an OOC fear thing that I was like, Silent, I know you have definitely felt this. It was like, like we just don't talk to cops. Don't ever fucking talk to them. And now I'm like, I talk to the cops a lot more and do it like in interesting ways to give them like breadcrumbs of RP. Like I don't snitch to Slacks, but I do these like meetings with Slacks to basically give his character lore on people in the city. And it's like I'm like, they're like their house is here, they run this operation. It's never like snitching. It's more like
it's like a lead.
Yeah,
no, like, he gives me the lore. It's like, this is a gang, these guys are dangerous, you shouldn't do this. I'm like, oh my god.
Or the classic is I'll be like, what do you know about like Jaeger demon blood? And I'll just be my character will just walk away and I'll be like, read a history book. And it's like, oh shit.
And I did. I went down to Liquid Library and Slacks and I read all about St. Queen War, even though I was the one that pushed the RP event to happen and the whole thing, right?
Yeah. And it's like, I generally, I also feel like this is a weird, we haven't even gotten into chases and it's fun. We've been talking about like crimes, punishments. We never even gotten to chase balance, which is probably my favorite thing. But I feel like in 4.0, I'm not just getting random fucking cops chasing me for random shit. But when I do a thing that cops should chase me for, they fucking chase me, which has been awesome. It feels way sharper. It's like, you did a fucking heist or job. The fucking PD is on you, and it's a lot of them. Whereas like, hey, I'm off like doing some random like smaller shit, and like there's probably not cops. So it feels like the cop it's getting better. It was a little bit too weak, I felt. But yeah, I mean, like overall, I think cops are, and I also just don't think people are as salty anymore. I don't know. I think the general vibes are better.
I think it's.
What do you guys think?
I think it's better. I think it's better than the worst I've seen by far. I remember when, dude, it was one of the first times Lenny Hawk was back, and he gets on duty, and one of the first times Lenny Hawk was back, and he gets on duty, and XUC is in this house. And he's like,
no.
he's like, I don't think I should be here. So funny.
Lenny Hawk signing out, something like that.
Yeah, it's so funny. I love Moon, dude.
No, Zoot's massive.
But yeah, like I don't think it's nearly as bad as like it's not nearly as bad as the worst it could possibly be. That's for sure. Because it was there was times where it got really bad before. I wasn't even around the whole time, but yeah. So
I think a lot of people learned. Like I'm guilty. I've molded before, and I've been little angry, little grumpy. But like, I've learned like, I think the best mentality I've picked up is like, as we were talking about W's and L's earlier. There's no L if you get to RP or create content with something. There's only to be continued, right? So like if I shoot Sam Bass in the face, you know, viewers in general will go, oh, that's a W, that's an L for cops, or W for Dundee. But it's like, it's a W for both sides because one, I got to make content, and Ssaab now has a roleplay reason to go after Dundee and therefore create more content. It's to be continued. Can Ssaab get revenge on me? Do I survive? Do I get more revenge? There's more RP to look forward to, and that's the one thing. So like when I get fucked, you know, like I got fucked by Bones in you know, in my gang area, you know, it's
shit,
like
Casey.
Yeah, sure, it sucks, but like now I get to see him again, and now I have a reason to, you know, not like him or do something to him in character. And it was like when Sam Bass ocean dumped me. It's like, you know, I can move forward with it. Like it's good IP. I got things to do. But like when it comes to like actual balance and like chases and stuff, look, I got a pet peeve, man. I'm not gonna lie. The number one thing that gets me grumpy, like straight mad, like I'm angry, put me on the front page of Reddit, 10,000 upvotes, ban me now, I'm grumpy, is when I'm at a chase and I'm on foot bail, or it's just started, or it hasn't gone on for long, and a cop or something or someone either rams me and I go pitted into a wall and thrown the windshield and down, or when I'm on foot and I get beaten down because they can't tase me. And that's what frustrates me a little bit. Is like there's been a few times where I'm just running around and the cops go, you know, if you don't stop resisting, I'm going to beat you. I'm like, why? There's an automatic cuff mechanic, right? So after the 5th cuff, you can't, there's no mini game. It's done. You're over. There's no more cuffing to be done. And so I'm just like, okay, so the devs have incorporated a mechanic that you cannot win against. You have to eventually lose. It has to eventually stop. You know, you're given an opportunity to escape and you're given an opportunity to be caught. But sometimes you just get smacked down, and I feel like I don't get my opportunity to get away. It's like, oh, 911 cops to come join me on this event that I'm doing, this robbery, that if I had not 911, no one would have known I'm even doing. And my reward for that is getting beat down because I resisted one cuff, or I tackled one cop on accident, or, you know, that's the one thing that annoys me. Like, I get being beat down. Like, if I've got a bat and I'm swinging the fucking cops, I'm going fucking... I get that. Like, I'm asking for it at that point. But I don't know, like, I'm not like out of touch, but that's the one thing that like I feel like does need changing. Is like, so criminals have 5 opportunities. I feel like they should get them.
So about that, do you feel like the 5 resists is too much or too little, or do you think breaking cuffs is too easy?
I feel like the old breaking cuff system was good, because now you just have to press E. I find it very easy. Where before, if you got to 5, you deserved to get 5. If you could get 5 cuffs in a row in the old system, you deserved it. Because
it was that was insane.
3. It was hard. Like if you broke the 4th cuff, you were considered RP god if you could do it.
Yeah.
Most people fell after 2 or 3.
The problem with cuffing,
I got 5 my first try. Like the first time I actually tried to do it, I got 5 easy in a row.
But the new one.
The problem with cuffing and mechanics like that, you don't want to cater to the people that are really gifted at it, right? Because what happens when that happens? You're promoting a certain kind of role play on a server. You want it to be where the casual role player who's a civ, who's never been a criminal before, can enjoy it as much as somebody who's, you know, really talented or mechanically gifted. I think you need to find that sweet spot to where it doesn't cater to one side and doesn't cater to the other side. It caters to right in the middle. So you have to work up to it, but it's not impossible.
So go ahead.
So no, I would agree. I think because the old cuff system in 3.0, it was hard. Like I fumbled the bag on the first one quite a few times. It was embarrassing, but it is pretty difficult. And a majority of like casual role players, which is one thing I keep forgetting, you know, like not everyone here is a content creator. NoPixel was full of, you know, people who don't stream, people who just socialize, you know, we can't cater the entire server to, you know, sweaty mechanical role players like myself. But I think the current system is definitely way too easy. I feel like it needs to...
No, it's not.
Maybe bring back the old mini game, but instead of it being 4 numbers, it's just 2. It's just 1 or 2, not 4. Maybe that's like the sweet spot. I don't know, because I feel like it's way too easy. And like if you don't get 5, then you suck at the moment.
What do you think, Silent? Because I know you're like mechanically one of the best crims on the server.
Yeah, Silent's insane.
What's a good balance for you? What do you think?
I think it should be what Ssaab said, to be honest. I think where it's at right now is fine because I don't think catering to like only because one person is able to do it doesn't mean everyone can. And the one thing that you're not putting into consideration is nerves gets to a lot of people. Like these intense chases, it gets to a lot of people. People start shaking and it makes it so much harder for them. Like me,
their heart is pumping.
I don't get too nervous, but like, you know, some people, you get them a basic chase as just like a, you know, joyriding charge that wouldn't be a big deal. They're still freaking out. They're still panicking. And that first one, they're going to hit it too early because it's so slow.
Yeah, that's a good point. Panic is big. Go on, sorry.
I agree with Silence. I think the balance I want, this is a crims versus cop sort of balancing. I think it should be, I like that it's easier. And because, dude, I'm going to be honest, foot chases are actually sick. I think foot chases are just fucking dope content. Like we
did that by design. I mean, the SOPs are designed to have foot chases last longer.
Yeah, because we wanted to. Are sick.
Good.
We wanted the foot chase to be fun and not turn into just like 30 seconds. We want to be an actual chase. Like I felt like
best clips of foot chases.
Right. Like I ran a block and a half to get you, you know, instead of just like running in the alley and I got you.
It's literally the chatterbox buff. Guy knows every nook and cranny in the city, dude. He finds every gap, dude.
That's why to me it's been so frustrating when you do get beat down, like what you were saying, or those kind of things, because I feel like I've been in 10-minute chases and I'll even get caught and I'm still like, my heart's actually pumping because you're like jumping over fences left and right, going up a mountain maybe and stuff like that. And then when you get away or don't get away, it's like, well, I can't say like that wasn't fun at least, you know?
I will, but I want to. So I want to say on the crim, like from the crim perspective, give us fucking good foot chases. I want to throw something as a defense of the cops. I watched and it was a company. The company did a heist. I hate to, man, I'm supposed to represent the crim side here, but I'm about to throw a bone to the cops. Can we stop saving the boys? I'm down in foot chases.
That's never going to go away. That's not going to go away.
I hate never gonna go away, dude. I hate saving the boys.
I understand it when it's like big situations, but man,
yes, I agree, Silent. Yes,
but like this happened like yesterday, I think, or 2 days ago, and I don't know if anyone was there, but I got cuffed for like a SBS job we did. It was like with a bunch of bikes, right? And my boys were like circling the cops, trying to like get me. I was just like thinking, just leave me at this point. Like we went in the job thinking it was gonna be a fun job to begin with. Like, what's the point of even saving me at that point?
Dude, ours was Eli, a random like intern for the company that they went back. It was so, I was like, why are you like? There was no in character. Now, by the way,
the risk doesn't make sense, right?
That's literally why they're an intern. We don't fucking let them get. But here's the thing: I'm not saying don't allow people to go back for the boys, but I'm like, man, I wish the culture of go back for the boys was like, yo, they have a molten hot gun on them, or like, yo, it's like it's like a Michael
look
Simone
at the nines,
in the terrorist
right.
arc. Yeah, they'll get the nines, drug trafficking, the whole like Dean Watson chase that went on back in 3 Point. Like that's the stuff where it's like, go back for the boys. It's like, the random I think that's by like circling you. Like, what were they in bike silent? Like circling?
Yeah. They ended up getting cars and stuff.
Oh, okay. Because like I'm just like, it's so I hate. And then the thing is, the cops get flamed because your guys' SOP is like, well, we're gonna fucking beat you down if you try to do it.
Exactly. We have to escalate that point.
I mean, I think the big thing. Let's pull it back a little bit because I want to talk about the beatdown. So how we're supposed to do things is we are supposed to not beat down unless it escalates to that point. Like if you tackle a cop, that's an assault, right? So if you tackle, then that's one. And then at that point, you should warn them and be like, hey, if this happens again, you're going to get beat. Now, chances are, if you tackle somebody twice, you're probably getting away.
Correct.
Like you're probably just getting away at that point because there's not really much you can do at that point to get caught up. So the idea is that if you want to take that risk of I'm probably getting away. If they do get close enough to actually swing and hit you, then you kind of deserve it. So that's the idea, is like it's grounds to beat them after you tackle once. You kind of say like, okay, if you do it again, or you come at me again, or you get aggressive, I'll hit you. That's really the only time it should happen. It shouldn't be like you get out of the foot bail, or you get out of the car and you're on a foot bail and they go for it right away. But it also does depend on the crime, right? So if this is like you're running around, you're getting aggressive and you're hitting civilians and stuff like that, if that's different than like a drug sale call, right? Or something like that. My general point of view is if you're doing crimes against people, it's max effort, max force as much as possible. If you're doing like a crim mechanic, like a drug sale or something like that, then it's kind of like, okay, like let it build up and let it play out and let it get to that point. That's kind of like my general point of view on the whole thing. As far as what was the last part of what you said? Because I had 2 points. I had that, and then I wanted to respond to what was the last
no
thing?
man left behind kind of thing.
Oh yeah. So I actually think it's annoying, but it's not completely stupid. I feel like we should have better scene control at those scenes and try and make sure to set things up properly. A good example of a time where we had good scene control was with Cal and with Ray. Cal Mao and Ray Romanov. We put them in a corner, we put barriers up, and Benji was coming around, and John Paul was coming around, and it's this whole thing, right? But they couldn't actually get in. So that's an example of good scene control. An example of bad scene control is when we caught John Paul one time, and then Benji and somebody else. I never actually found out who it was.
It was Benji and Ray. That one was fucking crazy.
Yeah, and they were ramming.
And in their defense, they pulled that off. That was pretty crazy that they pulled that one off.
Yes. Yeah. But we should have had better scene control. Like when they came in and they were like ramming the cars and stuff. I'm like, I don't think we should shoot them right away. But if there is a point where it's like, if they're hitting cars and now you're putting like a suspect in custody in danger, because here's the truth: some people are cringe and they'll be not that I think XQC is going to do this necessarily, but there are people out there that are going to be like, they're going to do crime, something is going to happen, and they're going to be like, woe is me, I need to sue. And I'm like, bro, come on, But we still have to do what we can for the sake of like having good immersive role play of like, okay, we have this guy in custody, but we're not here trying to like kill the dude. Okay, we need to go and we need to make sure that he's still safe. So put him in a position to where he's safe and other people can't come in and cause more problems. If somebody comes in, they hit a cop car and the cop car is spinning and you might hurt other officers, you might hurt a suspect. At that point, yeah, like if it gets really bad, you probably should shoot. But what we should do before it even gets to that point is set up the proper scene control, set up barriers. We have guys spread out instead of everybody crowding around the suspect. Like it was just really dumb. So we did a really, really bad job there, I thought.
I honestly think we could do a better job in scene control with like a 95. Even we can make it even worse for the criminals. And I don't want to do it because it can be too much. Where we can place the suspect inside the car and have him wait inside, so they have to go and pull him out. And every time you pull him out, you get tased, you get tackled. It's over, right? So, but we don't do that because we want it to be. You still have a chance, but at the same time, it's a high risk.
One of the things that this isn't saving someone, but saving a car, which is what I'm not a fan of. One of the updates that just happened is the whole like strike system is where like if you're in a violent felony, the car gets a strike and then you can only get 3 before you lose it. I feel like that's just gonna promote, especially in the future when people start having guns in cars, it's going to promote for people wanting to save their cars at all cost. I think
1,000%, especially at strike number 3, right?
Yeah, more than ever. If you know your car has 2 strikes, you're gonna do everything. You're gonna get all your entire load out. You're gonna start doing whatever you can to get that car back.
This is a weird issue of Son. I 100% agree. It's like I like that system. I don't like what I think it's going to cause, and I think it comes down to like some people were even like, "Yo, why is K getting charged this much for stealing a cop gun?" And people did the math like he could have shot this many cops and not gotten those charges. And it's like, well, because and it's the same reason why people ocean dump each other but won't throw away a hot gun. It's like, I mean, you can just respawn. and it sucks, but it's like people
it's
value
impact. Yeah, it's about impact.
People value a gun and they value a fucking car more than right. Like I mean, like you could have the leader of your gang in cuffs, about to go in prison for a long time, and some group might might be like, yo, let's not go back for the boys. Okay. But if you have the fucking Ferrari with 2 strikes, bring out the RPG on the cops. Like we will go to full scale war for that thing, right? Like
people are gonna care about that car more than if you're getting losing a meth lab key or something.
Yeah,
100%. People are attached to their personal things.
Yeah,
and that's why, like in character, it kind of makes sense in a way. Like, okay, hey, we don't want you to be, shooting cops or being aggressive or whatever, but it's almost like an out of character thing in a way for me, where like I know people don't like the go back for this mentality, and I feel like this is going to promote that in the future, especially when people have guns and more money.
But yeah, when they got cash to burn, it's like, I'll buy like 5 blickies,
So I guess like at least for me, what do you guys think is like a reasonable alternative to that?
But the car strike system?
Yeah.
Remember how H&O? Sorry, go on.
Like to the point that it's some that you want, that it won't just like encourage people to use like personal cars for like every single job and just constantly.
I mean,
we did that.
The honest truth is there's never going to be a perfect outcome, because the sweaty side of the criminals, especially the bigger tier criminals, are always going to want, even there's times where like you're talking about just like 1 strike on 3.0 and people would try to get the car back, right? So that's always going to be there, but I mean, so it's kind of hard to get like a
I thought we have a solution on the server for this already.
What, more strikes, more fines?
No. The stolen cars. I thought you could buy, like, you could rent out like a Porsche for $1,000 for the day, right?
Yeah.
And that should be it. Stolen cars should be the way to go for any crime. That way, you ditch the car, you want nothing to do with it, and then you move on with your life. And then you should have stolen cars you can purchase for the day that are as good as personal vehicles. That way, it can promote heist or whatever using those cars instead of using personal vehicles.
Yeah.
Wait.
The problem with
Wait.
It's hard.
Wait, Sam, did you just leak something?
Meta unlock.
Yeah, that's the thing. Already in the server. It's been there for a while now.
Well, so you know what's funny? Apparently this thing has been there, and like the cops found out about it like we found out about it, and I videotaped the whole thing like and stuff. Like it was apparently like as soon as it was put in. So wait,
chat. You can't buy a stolen car up in Grapeseed? I thought that was a thing. I talked to.
I'm gonna get on the server real quick.
Yo, guys. Hey, guys. Hey, thanks for coming on the podcast, guys. I gotta.
No, I know this. I know this shit in character. I know this shit.
No. You know what's funny?
What?
I think unless there's something that I don't know, I think you're wrong, but you're close.
Okay, so wait, how am I wrong? Because when I got asked about this, okay, I'll give you my perspective. They asked me, would you rather have people using their personal car or stolen cars? It's stolen cars because of what? They're coming back for the car in meta, right? I'd rather people use stolen cars for heists and robberies and shit like that than personal vehicles.
Listen, I'll be vague with it because I don't know if.
Wait, what if that guy lied to me?
Maybe it's ruining your it's like a meta type thing, but I'm thinking you're assuming that like every single like little job that people do, they get special cars and they're in different areas. So I'm assuming what you're thinking maybe is like, for example, one of the jobs you get cars in both Sandy and Polito and stuff, and maybe you see these people using these cars to do certain crime. That's what I had to guess.
I mean, I will say that idea is, bro, Ssaab, hit up the that is an amazing idea.
Yeah, that's how it should be. You go down to like a shady dealership and you rent a car for like, a day, and it could be a supercar. But if you want to rent it for that much, pay in cash, a lot of money, right? So you put down a down payment.
I do agree that I don't want, I think in 4.0, this is something that like used to like, it kind of killed my immersion in 3.0. It's like, I think it's sick if it's like for races or for a specific job, you pull out your like giga fast car, and like for racing makes sense. But like, or like I said, for a big heist, you pull them out every now and then, and you're gonna try and get away in them. It's like, but man, I hate when it was like just a million like Ferraris running through the city at like fucking Mach 3 over like traffic stops.
Oh
it's
yeah.
Like, at that point, it's like, but I mean, I think the counterpoint from the CRIMS for that, and Sally, you probably agree with this, like, I mean, we bought these fucking cool cars, we want to use them. Right, like, and that's where it gets into the GTA gameplay part, right? Like, I want to fucking drive the car,
I mean, yeah. I mean, you work. Well, I mean, think about it. How long we've been now, right? Let's say a fancy ass car comes up. I've been working 3 months to get to a car, and then I want to use it. You know.
Yeah, like in real life, people buy really fucking nice cars and then they never drive them. That's reality. GTA is we save up to buy a really nice car so that we can have the cops chase us in a really nice car. Like that is kind of GTA.
I think the focus should simply be make sure you have the cop cars that are good enough to. Because I think that's a big problem right now, where like, crim cars are like. I mean, this is like notorious. It's so hard to balance a crim car and a cop car, right? But at the moment, it's like a crim car, you have a completely dog shit car, like you're never gonna be able to keep up, or you have a car that goes 180, might be dog shit, but it's a straight line car, and then you just don't keep up with them.
Yes, it's hard because like
how we bless.
Yeah.
Well, so here's my question. So do you think the average cop car that is used in a crime, used to stop crime, is balanced against the cars that crims are using to do crime?
No, but I haven't been in too many chases. I think the one thing I noticed is like the top end speed of the cop cars. Again, I don't really watch clips or GTIP outside of playing it because I don't want to learn that up. But
did you cut out, or is it just me?
Hello?
No, it's just you.
Wait. Am I good? Hello?
You're good. Yeah.
Hello, you're good. Yeah.
Okay. I don't like watch GTIP or watch any streams other than tuning in and say hi. So I've only seen a little bit. From what I've seen, like the cop cars don't have good top end speed, but I don't mean like to talk myself up, but I like to think I'm good at driving. And I'm pulling out all the stops. I'm pulling all the moves, and I just cannot get away. Like I feel like I just can't do it in the stolen cars. And I'm driving this car around now, and it goes 150 in a straight line up the highway, and it's like, man, this car's great. I feel like I get away in this thing. It's like if I'm in my personal car, I feel like I'm pretty confident getting away. But I steal something, I just feel like it's a lost cause. I feel like it's just driving MRPD at this point. I feel like there's nothing I can do.
Interesting.
So I feel lost. Like it's the first time I went to my group. It's like, guys, I know for the last like 4 years we just outdrive the cops, but this time it's all about avoiding the cops. I'm thinking,
I want to ask though. God, I want to ask something.
Me? Or
well, I was just gonna say who's chasing you in this situation, because it does. A lot of times it comes down to who's chasing you. You know.
Like there are some really good drivers. The problem with the cop cars is like if you're a shit driver, like the cop car's good because it's pretty balanced for you. It's really forgiving, but not perfect. But if you're someone like Bones, he's really good, by the way. If you're someone like Bones or myself, or like if Anthony Z's playing a cop character or Goofy, what do you do? It's an F1 machine. That's the problem. It's like if you're shit at driving, like because the cop cars I feel like is suited for the casual
really fair to
or
say.
the casual cop, the one who's not perfect at everything, you know,
right?
It's a gifted person. But if you're pro, then you can absolutely utilize that cop car. Like I remember, I remember in 3.0, I kept getting yelled at before I was Interceptor certified, I kept getting yelled at by the Interceptor drivers because I kept overtaking them in my CVPI because I could drive my little shit car faster. They could drive their really fast car. And they were getting angry at me because they were saying I was pitting them out of the way. And I just told them, well, fucking move then. Stop driving so slow. And so it's the same thing with the current cop cars.
So here's my perspective on that. One, and not to take anything away from anybody, but I feel like percentage-wise, like the amount of good drivers in PD now is way higher than it was whenever I was playing years ago.
I disagree.
You don't think so?
I mean,
no, not at all.
I thought at the beginning of 4.0, I was like, there's a lot of really good drivers, but I mean, my perspective is maybe skewed because I don't remember as well.
Yeah, I think in the beginning of 3.0, sorry, that was probably the case, but like midway through to like the back half of 3.0, compared to now, it's definitely not even close.
Yeah, when I wasn't around. Yeah.
The Golden Age 3.0 PD was we had some really good cops from top to bottom, anything. Investigation, driving, patrol, leadership, you had everybody, right? So
yeah, there was certain times where we wouldn't, like, it'd be actually scary to do crime. We used to say the Avengers are on duty.
Yeah, the Avengers meme started happening.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man. We used to sweep the streets of Los Santos one by one. I mean, just because a lot of things were shootouts back then, though, right? Because it was easy to end things with shootouts.
Yeah.
To be fair, one thing that a lot of viewers, sorry, I didn't mean to, a lot of viewers don't get this. It is true though. Pursuit is way harder than Getaway.
Oh yeah,
Getaway is the, so it's like you can have the Pursuit car has to be better. Like if you wanted to like speak about like game balance or something like that, the Pursuit car has to be better than the Getaway car. At least but again, it's like the degree to which it has to be better is I think.
Well, my question is, can we ever get away from swaps? Will that even happen, or is just the meta is just forever installed in GTA now at this point, and we can never get away from it? Because like I hate swap. I don't know how to roleplay with swaps or how even have a fun chase. Because I just have to watch it happen and just move on with my life. I don't know how to combat something like this without being extra sweaty.
Swaps happen when they feel like I don't swap unless I feel like I need to. If I feel like it's impossible to get away from the cops and I need an out, it's like I want to swap. But usually you will see me stick to the one car as long as possible. But it's also, you got to think about like this, right? See it the other way around. How am I meant to keep up with 5 police cars following me, right?
No, I get that. I get that. I'm saying, what is the compromise here? How can we ever get away from this shit, or is it going to happen all the time?
How could we properly bring this down? Because I know I share very much the same opinion. I would very much like to make whatever changes are necessary, like on our end, if we could somehow go back to that kind of situation.
I think one of the biggest things is I think we need like a lot of different kind of 6-seaters. Because right now, if you want to go hit a bank, you need 4 people inside.
Yeah.
And that alone forces you to be like, okay, we're gonna swap here, we're gonna swap there. Rather than if you go 6 inside, the cops don't want to deal with 2 chases at once. You barely even have 5-6 units. You're not gonna split those between 2 chases.
Right. And you got somebody that's on scene, talk to the hostage as well, and scene control. Yeah.
It would be way too many cops you need to properly get 2 chases for one small laundromat.
I just don't want it to become a server rule where you can only do certain things X amount of times. It just becomes really weird.
Yeah, it's weird. it's not as good as actually having a way to role play it out. You're right.
Yeah, because guys, we're coming up on the last swap. What do we do? Hey, what do we do? We ambush? Do we shoot? What do we do? It's just what do you do at that point, right?
It's time to bring her out, guys. The beast. Spoil it up. Bring out Air 1 again.
Air 1.
Oh yeah.
I want to bring Air 1. I want to recommend it to bring Air 1. But the problem with Air 1, you have to balance it. And I'm saying this, and I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but it can be OP. It needs to be a scout / surveillance or reconnaissance where it's up in the sky, but it cannot go too fast. So it's more like a beacon in the sky that is like the skylight that's basically watching from above, and it provides communication. It does not become too powerful in a way to where you cannot escape it. Because if it does, what happens? People will shoot the helicopter. People will try to ambush more often.
Yeah, I'll just here's my thought on it. By the way, I fucking love. This is bad from a crim. I like Air 1. I love Air 1 as a crim, and this is why I get shit on and why people don't consider me a crim. I love Air 1 because I like having a helicopter chasing. I just think it's cool. That's literally why I like Air 1. I just think it's. I'm like, I don't know why viewers are. You guys don't want Air 1. I think it's fucking cool when you're driving and there's 4 cop cars in Air 1.
Wait, it does now. Wait. So Air 1 is more scary now in 4.0 when it comes out. It's way more scary. I'm not gonna reveal why, but you'll see why. It's gonna feel like an actual chase from you're in LA basically. The skylight works. Sick. The sky moves around and it's now server side. It's not client side anymore.
Okay.
The whole entire city is beamed on the chase. Everybody will see it when it comes. So it's gonna be this skylight moving through the city.
So sick.
I did this stupid paint thing with my chat to explain why I think Air 1 is cool and how it adds a challenge for chat or for CRIMS, which is this. Air 1 should just be, I think, have a sharper design. So first of all, the fact that there's a spotlight, one of my least favorite things is I didn't know when Air 1 pulled off. I think Air 1 needs to be Air 1 is out, you guys are fucked, they see you. And then when it needs to just have a longer refuel time or a more transparent it left, which if you have the spotlight, so again, it's
that'll be the giveaway. It's gone, right?
The way I think about it is if you're a crim and you're trying to drive or you have a plan set up, you can just outdrive the cops willy-nilly, or you can hit your plan, your swap, your jump to a boat, whenever. As soon as Air 1 is in play, Air 1 basically says you can't do that whenever. You have to wait for a timing window when Air 1's refueling. I think it just make that window bigger and more apparent. And then it's like it adds that time component to it. Because I fucking love Air 1 for the aesthetic reasons, you know?
Air 1 is so hard to balance. Like I remember playing, like it opened my eyes. When I'm on Crim, Air 1 feels like it never has to refuel, and when it does refuel, it feels like 1 millisecond. But when I'm on Cop, when I'm on fucking Cop, this helicopter lasts 10 seconds, man, and it's just Air 1's back. I'm out of fuel. Goodbye. I'm like, you just got here. It's like the sides are completely flipped.
Hell no, bro.
It's like, how do you balance that?
Perspective is a motherfucker for sure.
This is crazy, and I don't mean to interrupt. I swear to God, and like, as someone who's just like, this is why I'm a shit crim in every other respect. When it comes to like getaway, fucking doing crazy getaway plans and I never fucking know when Air 1 is on us. That was my issue. I never knew where the fuck it was.
And it should be loud. It should be loud. It should be like above you.
And so I swear you will fix 90% of the issue with Air 1 if it is so telegraphed when Air 1 is off you and on you. If that is telegraphed to the crims, which it just should be, beautiful. Love it.
You know,
let's have a collective prayer that there's no desync issues like at the end of 3.0.
Yeah, true.
You know how I said earlier how I feel like it's hard to balance cars? I think balancing Air 1 is even harder. It's insane.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I think the skill difference that I've seen from like even a decent pilot, because obviously you all have to be decent to get accepted and to get the cert. A decent one and a good one is insanely, like, it's insane the difference. Even like when you guys nerfed it in 3.0 where like Air 1 was super slow and it pretty much was just like flying above you and, you know, being like a beacon kind of like you said. Man, there's some cops that were still able to keep up with you. Like they were able to like cut like through buildings and everything so perfectly, and they were still, it felt so impossible to get away.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my recommendation, make it to where it has a top speed of like 110, 120, and make it more focus on reconnaissance and finding people in the city. And if it's highway blast, then have the interceptors to go after them while having the helicopter try to cutting off on the other side of the freeway, right? It works diagonal, not in the straight line.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people hated. As somebody that flew a lot, like pretty much daily, I know a lot of people hated the changes to it, but I think it brought a much bigger challenge.
You know what I hated? I hated your comms. They were too good. I remember I'd watch the clips.
I just get watch people immersed.
Yeah, I'd watch clips after the situations when you're chasing me or something, and I'm like, holy, this guy's comms are perfect, spot on.
I think like
just try and get people immersed.
You can balance it as much as you get, but some people sometimes it just is a skill issue. Like some people here have thousands and thousands and thousands of hours.
10,000
personally, I have 11,000 hours on 5M alone. Okay, like I fucking know how to play this game. If I suck at it, like what's gonna happen? Okay, let's imagine I'm playing Croc. Okay, I've got 11,000 hours on GTA, and who am I chasing? Fucking Eli. Okay, he's fucked. Okay, like what's he meant to do against that? Like, how do you balance that problem? You know,
you can't. You just can't.
You can't.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you just have to realize that maybe, you know, the role player's new or they're not really good at escaping. Just have fun with them, right? You let them, you have the chase go on, and then eventually you stop it, right? You give them a little opportunity to have that role play, but if they fail, they fail.
Yeah, like when I'm on Croc, like I know I love my pits. Don't get me wrong, but always like gave an opportunity, even if it was a shit. Like sometimes I'll go like, you're not getting away, and I'll just sit them down, I'll just make fun of them over the megaphone, and then I'll go in. But like sometimes I've done that, and I'll be flabbergasted because they'll actually get away, and that's like, well, that's fine. Like it's okay to lose as a cop, just as well as it is okay to lose as a criminal most of the time. But like, it's just like still give the opportunity, even like if you're like. Sometimes I'll like massively outskill the person in front of me, but I'll still like give the opportunity for them to escape. And I just think it's the right thing to do, I guess, aren't I?
So, what do you guys think? This is something we talked about a lot, like in character. What do you guys think about turbos? Like
stealing turbos or installing turbos?
No, the fact that they exist. I think they've made balance horrible. Like horribly difficult, sorry. Because what's ended up happening is a player will then be driving and they'll chase somebody and then they're like, oh my gosh, that car went 220 miles an hour. but it's because they have like a 99 turbo that allows them to hit acceleration at the right point, which kicks them into a different gear that was unattainable without the turbo, and then it like unlocks the top speed. So basically, players see car going really fast, and they think every time they see that car, it's
an
going to
illegal
really
mod.
fast. But in reality, that's not the case. So everybody has their own individual skewed view of how the balance between all the vehicles work. Because, like, for example, a CVPI without a turbo has awful wheel spin, no traction. Top speed is like 110-ish, I think. But then if you get a turbo in it, the right turbo, it'll have really high acceleration off the rip. Like red lines, really high acceleration off the rip. Tons of wheel spin. So if you turn it all, you'll spin out. But it also unlocks a different gear that it can get you to, because you can get to the next gear and then it pushes your top speed over.
Sounds like you need a sequential.
Yeah, but sequentials just aids for
get good.
Yeah, I know.
You need a better mouse or like a better setup for sequential for sure.
Yeah, like sequential for cop. Like there's just so many things. I think someone tried it. Somebody else tried it, but I can't remember who it was. I think it was. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say I don't know. I am my other character that actually always drives, whereas like Mickey, I in character I never drive on Mickey, and then I have another character that only drives. So but I haven't gotten to play that as much to only drive, and also my only drive experience is a little it's a little different with how I drive with that character. But I turbos or not, or cars not, man, it's a little bit away from the turbo issue, but it's like, I think turbos make it so you can't tell the balance of the cars. But more importantly, man, I just wish cars were slower. At the start of 4.0, I loved how slow cars felt. And we're already getting to the point of like mock speeds.
Yeah, we're doing too fast too early, I agree.
Dude, and by the way, I'm not, I know like people, a higher number looks cool, but there's like a million reasons why I think slower speed chases are cooler. And one of them is literally there's just less scuff. There's less scuff and less like random shit that will happen as you fly through the city of GTA. And I think if I would rather have the cop cars all slower and the crim cars all slower. I just want like, I feel like slower chases just, they look cooler too.
I agree.
Too many fast cars already. Like, actually quite like the 3.0 car balancing system. Like, yeah, sure, it was a bit silly to call cars A+, S+, Disney+, all this shit. But I think it was a good balance. Like, I loved getting in the chases, and I always thought the car balance was really good. But the issue is now, it's like we're 3-4 months into 4.0, and we have $85,000, 180 mile an hour cars. And like everyone and their mum's got it.
This is me right now.
There's a lot of people who have 80,000.
This is me right now.
But there's also a lot of people who don't have 80,000.
I want to grind.
So I hope with the next Mosley restock, I hope like all the prices are adjusted, because like there's some cars that are rusted out D classes for 40 grand, and then there's this absolutely OP Camaro that goes 120 billion miles an hour and it's 75 grand. I feel like it needs to be balanced, because now there's way too many fast cars going around. And
yeah,
I know, like that's why I understand why cop cars need turbos to keep up with those cars. But then you have a problem where it's like, well, not everyone has those cars because it's out of stock, and now you've got turboed cop cars going after rented clubs with no turbos in them that can't hit 120 miles an hour. And so it's like, now the balance is even worse. So it's like, what do we do at that point? That's why I feel so hopeless. So it's like, I feel like I have to be in a personal car to get away. Or I got a rat strat. And if I rat strat, well, then I'm just taking and not giving an IP, and I feel like a dick. And I just feel bad. So I don't know.
When I asked about the PD bike changes, the reason why it's not happening yet, because I'm being told there's an overhaul system coming in to change a lot of things. I'm not trying to leak anything on the stream, of course, but changes are coming. That's what I got told.
Bikes are being removed from nopixel. Oh my god!
I don't know what that means. I don't know what changes are coming. But I think there's even overall changes to all vehicles.
Oh, I've been preaching this to devs, admins, fucking Coil, everyone. I think playing both crim and cop for long periods of time, I think it's no fun on either side. Crim, it's just the only argument anyone's made, which is a valid one, is there's like biker gangs and stuff like that, which I understand, like the roleplay aspect, wanting to keep bikes, but as far as like chases go, it's the most unfun thing on both sides.
Yeah, it's like I hate being chased by a bike in a car, but like then I also understand it's like, well, if I get on a bike, like I remember back in 2.0, you could not actually get the interceptor out unless it was an S plus car or whatever the fuck was really fast. And so I remember Snow, you know, he would chase me. He'd see me driving a fast car, and he'd have to turn around and drive his way down to MIPD to get the interceptor, bring it out, and then they've lost me. And it's like, well,
it's kind of dumb.
We can't do that with the bikes, you know? It's like, it's just going to be the same thing.
And for people wondering about the biggest problem with the balance of bikes, and this is like, I mean, also, if you don't have bikes, I think Air 1 comes out a lot less, which is actually probably a good thing, where it's like Air 1 can be way more limited to only giga important stuff. Problem with bikes is that you literally can't balance them because it's not about their speed or handling. They can just go into spots that a car can't follow, and then you're like, oh well, it's over.
Even if it's painfully slow, you're still gonna go somewhere where a car is not gonna be able to catch you.
Yeah,
bro,
exactly.
I could get away. I mean, I was a shit driver in 3.0. I could get away in mopeds easier than I could in the best car because
I got away on a bicycle. like you can get away.
Bicycles are pretty good.
Yeah, the best thing about a bicycle was I was getting chased and it had like 200 jewelry on me, and I learned that bicycles, they don't lose traction, so you can go up like 80-degree vertical hills. And so I had a CVPI chasing me, and so I just went on the hill, and then I just stopped, and I just yelled at him, "What are you gonna do? You can't get up here!" And then they'd go around the mountain and go down, and then as they started coming for me, I'd start driving away. And they'd slide all the way down the mountain. It was the funniest thing. It was so good. It's like, I just got away on a bicycle. It's so funny.
Oh, man.
Guys, I was gonna say, listen, I have to. I'll say, Cops vs. Crims is or rather, we should retitle it now for the next one. It's Cops and Crims because we're a collaboration, right? There's no friction.
Yes.
We've solved all the issues today, but in case we haven't. We will do another Cops vs. Crims one. We'll bring on some of the same people, some new people. I don't know when we do roleplay podcasts every week. We'll do another one as we wrap things up here. I mean, I think.
Can I ask a question before we end?
Oh, go ahead.
Are you ending now, or are you just?
Oh no. Well, we're going to start wrapping up a little. I have something for everyone though, but yeah, go ahead, Esfandtv.
Okay. So before that, I have a question.
Yeah.
To Crims, what is something that we as a police department can do better to facilitate better role play in a reasonable sense?
You want to go first, Silent?
You can go first.
I think the one thing that ticks me off that isn't beating or pitting, is I hate.
What do I even complain about? I feel
this is probably a big subject.
I don't even know.
I think the one thing is like I love when cops de-escalate. I absolutely love that. Like Ssaab was doing such a I was blown away. I'm like, oh my god, this is the best.
What do you guys hear me
RP
complain about on
seen.
stream?
It was like I love this. I loved it when I got to stop and talk, and like try and like compromise. I love that little bit of compromise. One thing like I think could be improved is always get I feel like I'm like sometimes I get like shot or beaten, like I said earlier, when I haven't like done it, and sometimes I feel like I had a chat with my gang members. I'm like, I've been shot more times by the PD than anyone else. I'm like, these are the peace officers and they're using more guns than the criminals. And they've beat me more times than criminals. I've had gang members be nicer to me. I think that's like the one thing I like to see is I love the like the compromise and de-escalation to where it's like, I know maybe I'm like out of touch, but I love it when cops de-escalate. Not so like I can get an easier getaway, but it's like, hey, we don't have to gun someone down, or we don't have to immediately pit so soon, and maybe we can talk things out rather than arrest someone. Like again, I'll use Ssaab's example of the Waxen and Taxon days of Mosley's. When like he would come down and he just like he wouldn't like cuffs on anyone. He just talked.
Okay, I'll talk about that.
He talked to the criminals. He talked to the civilians, and I love that because it was like, let's find a compromise before we find cuffs. And I thought that was actually like some of the best RP I've seen. I thought it was really good.
Okay, that's good.
Mine is this. And I'm not saying do it all the time, but I think when you catch criminals, I think it's cool if like actually this is great for you, Esfandtv, where it's like, remember when we talked about kind of, as you said, the great framework of there's the role play, the action gameplay, and the MMO aspect. Think about like it's basically this is actually just straight up OOC. It's basically like cops having OOC empathy for the MMO grind of 4.0 and like finding and listen, it's tough, but I'm like finding little ways to like cut us slack. Like if we have like cut us slack. Like and what I mean by this, like if you catch a criminal and you're putting them away, and even if they have like, you know, you hit them with the time, hit them with the fines, right? But like let's say on their person they have some item that you could basically come up with an RP excuse to not take, right? Like maybe it's a fucking, I mean, I know sometimes you guys take, well, it's almost like of the list of items that you could take, like, I don't know, fucking roll a dice for the one that you're not going to take. Give them like a little surprise. Oh shit, the cops didn't actually see this. Or like,
yeah.
A classic one is if you ever, actually, I will say this, if you guys ever see a progression related item, try to like not like I swear this will be the greatest saving grace on the PD. If you see a dongle on a crim, some like little USB dongle, try to like tee them up an excuse to not take it. Like basically like find a way to not take it.
They're gonna be the happiest person leaving the prison when they find out they actually have it.
Dude, we will like I'm telling you, you can hit us with the fines, hit us with the times, but like a little like, oh, like I didn't lose this critical thing. Like, and not saying do it all the time. I'm just saying like every now and then, just a little tee up there.
So part of the issue is if like you have to follow your procedure and you have to take things that are, you know, marked for seizure, right? However, if something is not marked for seizure, then we won't take it. But there has to be investigations and stuff that leads to that point. So we might take something for investigative purposes, but we have to like that has to be returned to you. Like, you know, by like if that's yours and you want it returned to you, you can come and you can ask for it, right? Isn't that how we do it, Ssaab?
Yeah, I mean, like you can't hold on to evidence unless right.
Yeah. Well, explain it better because you can explain better than I can.
Right. So if you're investigating like a piece of evidence that you believe is involved is a criminal tool or ties with a criminal activity, we can hold on to it for a little bit and investigate it. But for the most part, if we don't have probable cause to keep it, we got to give it back. And that could be something that is very beneficial for the criminals who just committed a heist, but we have no idea how or why they're robbing a USB dongle, for example. Like, why the fuck would we give a shit about USB dongle, right? What's on there that would make us believe there is crime on it?
Right. So like in character for me, like as Cornwood, like I'm online so much that I find out a lot of things. But I hold back a little bit, just a little bit, and then I kind of gauge on if it's fair or not. But that's one that like in character I haven't really connected anything with the USB dongles outside of that one time that John Paul got arrested and he just started spouting off like a million things. So that's the only thing. But then even then I wasn't really involved in that situation. I just kind of overheard it a little bit. And to me, in character, it's like, oh, he's just saying a bunch of crazy shit. So just because he's trying to not get in trouble. So I don't really know any better otherwise. So like if I were to arrest somebody at this exact second and see a dongle on them, I wouldn't pull that dongle off because I know nothing about it. And if I did, it would still be like investigate it, and then you know they can come back and they can ask for it back. Oh, it's in the evidence locker. Here you go. I couldn't figure anything out.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, that's how it should be. You should be like, a dongle. I've seen those before. Those are suspicious, guys. There must be crime on there. It has to be organic. It has to be.
Mm-hmm. All right, Sal, what about you?
I think it's kind of something that we talked about, right? But I think promoting when someone's in the cells and if they're gonna sit there, whether it's interrogation or not, and they start yapping, promoting that and making them feel like, okay, next time I come into the cells, then me yapping will like, I don't want to say benefit me, but like I'll get that interaction back, right? Like I guess one example that, I mean, Arckon, you were there, right? It's so petty and such a little thing, but one thing that I've been arguing in character is the kidnapping charge, right? Between kidnapping and what's the other charge again? I always forget the name of it.
Unlawful imprisonment?
Yes, unlawful imprisonment. I sat there in the cells and like you know, kept making arguments on why you know, I'm getting charged kidnapping rather than unlawful imprisonment, because if a cop doesn't see me kidnap that, you know, hostage, then you don't really know if it's actually kidnapping or unlawful imprisonment unless that hostage tells you, right? But how do you know that the hostage isn't lying? Like you at the end of the day don't really know who's. It's a he said she said, right?
Good argument.
So which
brings up,
me and Arckon were arguing. Well, I wouldn't say arguing because he kind of saw my side, right? I sat in the cells for like 30-40 minutes, and then I was like, okay, like I was enjoying going back and forth. It was fun. But then after everything ended, it was just like, nope, yeah, you're getting kidnapping. It was just like, okay, as much as it was fun, at some point it's like I just sat there for 34 minutes to kind of get no outcome in a way. So I feel like that's just one example, but just in general, like someone being in the cells, and I mean, you can tell when someone's, let's be honest, someone's being a bit salty, or someone just playing a character and just, arguing to argue because they're enjoying it. And I feel like when you're getting that like argument to argue, like for fun or whatever, like maybe promote that a bit more.
Yeah, I mean that's where the give and take in interrogation goes. Along the way where people are trying to roleplay with you, you should roleplay back with them, and you should reward that roleplay versus somebody saying, fuck you, man, send me in, I'm done. I don't do with this shit. And you can tell it's a bit OOC / saltiness is coming out, right?
Yeah, because to me the most frustrating thing about it all is what I get told is, okay, go get a lawyer and go fight it in court. Well, at that point, I'm passionate about that situation at that moment, and I don't want to take everything to court and have everything, later on or whatever. Like I want to talk it out in the cells.
Yeah, like some people like. I mean, I don't hate court as much as I used to. I used to hate court RP. Oh my gosh,
it feels really good in 4.0 actually. It feels way better.
Yeah, my first couple times I was like, this sucks, but like it's kind of cool because you get to go to court to like learn things too, But at the same time, there's a lot of people that just we're talking about time, right? Hey, what does Dundee do, for example? You get in there, hey, not guilty, send me up, and I'll figure it out later. That's how you handle it, Whippy, at this point. Just because it's like, just get me in, get me out, charge me, whatever. Let's move on.
Well, it depends because like sometimes I'll go down there. Like I do like to talk. Yeah. Like sometimes like I love the fucking argument. Like you went there for it, but like I turned Croc into a lawyer and I fucking love court. Well, I hate it, but I love it. And so on Dundee, like I love to argue. I love sitting there going back and forth. But sometimes it's like I'll sit there and argue and like it's part of the character trait to plead not guilty. There's like a reason for it, like actual law. But the main thing that sometimes fucks me is like, okay, well if I sit here and argue, they're not going to do anything unless they plead guilty. Right. I want to get out of prison and keep doing things, but if I keep talking, I'm fucking myself because they're not removing time because I'm not pleading guilty. I'm just sitting here getting nothing out of it. Why talk? Like it would be faster if I didn't. And I feel bad because I obviously love talking with you guys and I love role playing with people in the cells and arguing and discussion and all that stuff. But it's all I just feel like sometimes if I sit there and I talk, I get no reward for it. It's like, well, I don't want to sit there and be the guy that just sits there angry like fucking send me to prison, I'm angry. Like, I don't want to be that guy because I feel like I'm being shitty, but like if I talk, I'm actively screwing myself.
Your character is like passively angry though. And I want to spin. We do have to wrap soon, but I mean we gotta send the question back to you guys though. What's the like thing where you're like, man, I just wish the Crims would fucking stop doing this, or do less of this, or do more of something else? What's the change you want to see from the Crim role players on NoPixel?
You can't talk about swaps.
Yeah, I was thinking that. He's going to say swaps.
Yo, Ssaab, you good, bro?
Yo, Ssaab, you might be muted, Ssaab. Yo, Ssaab.
True.
I'm good.
I said all of it, Blau. Did you not hear it?
Okay, Esfandtv, what do you think? And then we'll get to Arckon, then we can wrap.
Okay. Well, first, to the point of the charges, just kind of reel back just a little bit. I do think we have to get better at pushing charges the right way. That's something that in character, like you said, like having like a lower reason to do that. Like Cornwood has that lower reason to do that, and I OOC believe this as well, that we don't push charges the right way. And I think we need to get our process down and our procedure down better so that people can trust that we're acting in good faith and we're not pulling some bullshit and trying to get one over on people as opposed to just like doing our job. So the next thing, what I wish Crims would not do as much.
I can tell you the biggest one.
What do you think is the biggest one?
Giving information and roleplay, honestly, especially during interrogation, when we got you, like, we got your back against the wall, and we're trying to help you out, but we need something out of you, and you're refusing to.
At the very minimum,
Yeah, because like we hit so many walls and so many investigations, and the only way I can break through is talking to somebody, is having that conversation.
Yeah, because there's like situations
Crim should snitch more, bro. Like the biggest crims in the server like openly snitch about all sorts of random shit, and they do it in a way where. Dude, and they do, but here's the thing: they do it in the context of like publicly, or like ways where it could come back to them. And like honestly, the only safe way to snitch is in an interrogation room with the cops, where like it might not come back to. Like I think they should. Yeah, it's backwards.
People do it
like, I don't know why.
not privately.
Yes, dude. Everyone keeps snitching like really obvious public things, and I'm like, well, do it privately in an investigation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with that.
For me, it's something that annoys me is whenever. Now, part of the problem is like I know why it happens, and it's because of previously like bad experiences with police officers, maybe, or a preconceived notion. And it might not have even been an experience in 4.0. It might have just been something that happened in the past. But it's whenever like you're trying to act in good faith and then people think that you aren't. That actually like that annoys the hell out of me because I'm like, no, I'm not trying to do some bullshit. I'm not trying to make something up against you.
You're genuinely trying to help them.
Oh,
but
that's
I'm just like, trying to make sure that better or for worse, it's just right. I don't care if it's you're getting a ton of fines or a few fines. I just want to make sure it's right. Like it is the correct charges are being pressed. That's something that annoys me when people think that like Cornwood's trying to pull one over on them or something.
I think it's exactly what you said, where it's like PTSD. Like even I feel like sometimes a cop can ask you such a basic question that has zero to do with them wanting to charge you more, but a crim has had like the experience of, oh, I've answered something like this before. They're just trying to fuck me and stack charges. In reality, you're actually just trying to roleplay with them and just just have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel
like.
that.
Do you think there's like little incremental things that we could do over time to shift that narrative in people's minds?
Stop lying. Like I feel like sometimes like I've gone with a cop and they'll lie to get like, I mean, it is more PTSD. I'm scared to do it again in 4.0, but there have been times in 4.0 where myself or some members of my crew has been lied to by a police officer, got told one thing, got tricked, and then fucked. And it ruins the credibility for all the other cops.
It does. That's one thing we talked about all the time, right? That's why being a police officer and not doing a lot of dumb shit on the public is crucial, is because people think that's what the PD is all about, right? They think, and that's shitty because a lot of times people judge you based on what? Your appearance and what you do, your actions, if they don't know you, right? If I don't know Cletus and I'm watching him do something, I'm judging based on his actions and appearance, right? That's just like everybody else.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I'm load into the service. And
is this like during like specifically negotiations, or are you saying just like as a whole?
I think I mean the one time that we were lied to was in a negotiation, but I think a majority is that it's still like a silent stat. I got PTSD. I got caught PTSD, man. I'm just being lied to. I haven't seen it as much in 4.0, but like I have seen sometimes in 4.0 like in a negotiation where like we've been lied to and then trapped and then fucked. And it's like, well, my character's got to learn from that. Like, I want to, play a little dumb and allow RP to happen, but like, how many times am I going to allow myself to get lied to?
And I was gonna say, Arckon, I do think it's getting better. I think like I keep leading the you're now leading the PD. I think keep it going in a better direction of that because again, I do think a lot of the more veteran nopixel people have been. I think people were burned probably from 3.0, where it really felt like it was cops versus crims, and people were only taking and not giving. And I genuinely think the PD in 4.0 and the crims in 4.0 have been giving way more RP to each other, not just taking. And it feels like it's getting better and improving. But I think that is part of the problem. Like, dude, like all of the crims on nopixel have like PTSD from 3.0 situations.
Yep, a lot of them are jaded. Vice versa, cops are well.
Yeah, and vice versa from the cops.
It's going to take a while to kind of, shift the narrative, if you will. But
I mean, the truth is, even when you guys are doing good work, sometimes it feels like, okay, I can start trusting cops, and then you get that one unfortunate situation, and then you go back to step step one or whatever.
It's like one step forward, and then the next day it'll be 4 backwards. And
yeah,
exactly.
Constant.
But I mean, the only thing I guess you can say is whenever you see the right leadership or whatever you believe to be the right leadership, and they're trying to take those steps, then I think Crims buy into it very fast, but they buy out just as fast.
Stuttering. Like, and a good example is this is like recently some of my dirty cash got taken. And in my past, PTSD me is like, it's gone. Goodbye. Never seen that cash ever again. But then I was completely proven wrong when my lawyer, Mickey here, managed to actually get the items back from the cops. I'm like, that would never happen in 3.0. That I've been proven wrong. And then it's like, okay, now I trust the cops a little bit more. And
that probably wouldn't have happened. And the RP for why they were willing to do that deal and then give it back was great. So yeah. So that also is a shout out to the cops for like giving a little bit more trust there.
Yeah.
Arckon, you never actually said like what was the thing you want. I mean, besides, I guess that, but like what else do you sort of want from the Crims more going forward?
I mean, I think it was kind of like spoken about like very briefly as well, and we went over it, but just like the little breadcrumbs of information and like interrogations and stuff like that, because that part just like further extends from the moment that they're like in cuffs. I obviously don't want to like hold them hostage in their role play and what they want to do with their day hostage, but at least like being able to extend the interaction to the point like we sit down in some kind of like immersive conversation and get some kind of back and forth about it, I guess. And highway blasting.
Highway Henry, I call him. Like look at this Highway Henry guy.
Those sweatlords will always be there, Arckon. Don't worry. That's not changing.
All right, Ssaab, don't mute yourself this time. Hit us with it.
Man, you're asking me a very loaded question here. I remember that too as well. My biggest thing, honestly, is just trust in a role play, trusting each other, be able to not always assume the worst in somebody's action right away when something happens. I get people get frustrated, I get people get mad, and that's a human thing, and I'm all for it, right? But be able to cool yourself and realize, you know what? No, I just had a moment. I'm mad. Let's just go back and focus on role play and continue the role play, right? I think that's my biggest problem right now in RP is that awkward tension after an incident just finished, where there's that tension. You can cut it through a knife, and nobody wants to take that step to de-escalate or make sure the tension is gone to where things can resume normally in roleplay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. That's pretty much it. Like I do a lot of like I don't even know if I should do this, but I do. I try and take a lot of like out of character impact into consideration whenever I'm like doing things. And I know like Blau, you mentioned how like you wish we would do that a little bit more, but sometimes it's like I know some people are really against that, and some people are like all about that, because I think like the impact of what you do in game, like it depends on what it is, right? Like we had that situation where like we mag dumped like a one life character because it was Dean's, he's like, you know what I mean? So like that was like one thing, right? But then there's like another thing that's like, okay, what is the actual impact of what happens here? Which is why I go by the belief of like crimes against civilians, or like we gotta stop
move
this
so
shit,
fast.
right?
Yeah, number one.
I was in queue for 4 minutes. I started at 8.
Against civilians, because that's other players.
And I'm loading now. What
but, like,
the fuck?
Mechanics, not that much. We already talked about that.
Why the fuck are so many people getting off the server?
Situation where, like Cow actually was driving Group 6, got his Group 6 truck robbed, and we actually went and we recovered all of his pallets, and he was able to complete his job. And I'm pretty sure that's the first time we were able to pull that off. And
that feels good. That feels good versus helping an NPC that just got robbed. You know what I'm saying? That felt so good, man.
That felt so damn good, because it was like, holy shit, like of all the big chases and catching the crims, like I have 3 levels of like happiness for like how good a situation goes. 1 is like, okay, you get the arrest. Great, cool, whatever. 2, okay, we have really good procedure and teamwork doing it. That's sick. That's great. 3 is if we do whatever and are actually able to go help another player on the server and not feel like they are completely helpless whenever a crim comes and they rob them, steal their shit, whatever. Like that is a maximum level of enjoyment that I get out of Cop RP, is that we actually made an impact here, because nothing else really matters.
You feel like the good guy, right?
yeah, it's sick. Like that's a great feeling. So I hope we have more opportunities to do that.
I love it. Before we wrap this up and I let you guys get back to the role play and stuff. By the way, this is our longest episode ever. And dude, we could do cop versus. You guys know we can. There's so much more we can talk about here. Yeah. We'll have to do it another.
This lasted so long. Me and Whippy did 4 fucking Grime runs. It's actually pretty good money.
Hell yeah, making it. Again, Ssaab, thank you to nopixel for sponsoring this podcast and letting. Oh, Whippy's camera died again. Thanks for letting people grind and get money in the server.